She actually mentioned it? Evelyn Reed murmured to herself, a curious glint in her eye. The video feed of Cassandra Thorne, her boss, remained impassive on her screen. Renegotiating with vendors was business as usual for Zenith Corp. With their market leverage, they could swap out partners every other month to drive down costs, stir up competition, and boost their own revenue. It was standard operating procedure, the kind of minutiae Cassandra never bothered herself with. So why now? Set up a meeting with a few of our logistics competitors. I want to talk to them, Cassandra's cool voice instructed from the screen. Evelyn froze. Ms. Thorne, you gotta attend a meeting like this yourself. She couldn't contain her shock, the question tumbling out before she could stop it. Cassandra simply arched an eyebrow. Have Haley lead the delegation. Haley. Evelyn shot up from her chair. Everyone at Zenith knew that while Haley Lou's official title sometimes involved driving for Ms. Thorne, her real role was far more significant. She was a trusted operator who only took direct orders from the top. Sending the COO to handle a routine vendor negotiation that any mid-level manager could deal with was unheard of, but an order was an order. Evelyn's professional mask snapped back into place. Of course, Ms. Thorne. I'll arrange it immediately. And take some security, Cassandra added, a hint of amusement coloring her tone, as if she were anticipating a good show. A shiver went down Evelyn's spine. She didn't need to ask who her boss had in mind. Suppressing her astonishment, she nodded. Understood. I'll inform the security department and have Liam and his team assigned to the detail. Back at Zenith Corp security headquarters, Liam had just finished his lunch when a message from Khloe popped up on his phone. Hey, brother Liam, could you do me a favor and let Mark know my car will be in the garage for a bit? I'll pick it up once my ankle's better. Liam's eyes flickered over the text. He typed back a quick sure. The afternoon flew by. At one point, Leo, having heard through the grapevine about Khloe's injury, ambled over to Liam's station. Hey, how's Khloe doing? Heard she took a tumble. When Liam told him it was just a sprain and nothing serious, Leo snorted. She can be such a klutz sometimes. Liam just shrugged. High heels were tricky. For some reason, the thought of them conjured an image of Cassandra Thorne. Her long, elegant legs, the confident, commanding click of her stilettos on polished marble. The memory flashed and was gone. Shaking his head, Liam forced himself to focus on his work. As the day wound down, Mark Warren, the head of security, gathered Liam, Leo, and a couple of other guards for a meeting. When Liam walked into the briefing room, he was surprised to see Haley Lou was already there. Their eyes met for a second, and he caught a flash of pure exasperation in hers. Everyone here, mark it a quick head count. 4 guards in total, Liam, Leo, and 2 perimeter surveillance guys Liam barely knew. All right, listen up. The day after tomorrow, the company is holding a major contract signing at the Elysian Hotel. Ms. Lou will be in charge, and the 4 of you will be her personal security detail. As he spoke, Mark shot a subtle, knowing glance in Liam's direction. Ms. Lou is running it. Leo blurted out, stunned. That must be a huge deal, Mark. Are you sure 4 of us is enough? Mark rolled his eyes and gave Leo a light smack on the back of the head. You're not securing the whole damn hotel, genius. Your job is to protect Ms. Lou. Stop overthinking it. Right, Leo mumbled, rubbing his head. We're having this meeting today, so you all know who you're reporting to, Mark continued, before turning to Haley with a deferential smile. You'll have tomorrow off. The day after, you'll follow Ms. Lou's instructions. Haley gave a curt nod, her voice crisp and businesslike. Be at the main entrance, 0800 hours, the day after tomorrow. The authoritative air was a side of her Liam had never seen before. She had the presence of a true executive. He also couldn't shake the feeling that he was the target of the frustration simmering in her eyes, as if she had a long list of complaints she was dying to unleash on him. After a few more instructions from Mark, they were dismissed. On the way out, Leo was already muttering, Man, if Haley's running the show, this has got to be big league. And you, Liam, you just waltz in here and land on all the most interesting details. What's your secret? Liam's mouth twitched. Wait, Haley worked for the company. Leo stared at him as if he'd grown a second head. You don't know who Haley Lou is? Dude, she's a board member and the COO. Every major decision goes through her after it leaves the executive suite. Holy hell, Haley was that high up? Liam had genuinely thought her main job was driving him around. His eyes started to twitch. He had to keep that a secret. If anyone at Zenith found out the COO was acting as his personal chauffeur, his quiet life would be over. Don't sweat it, Leo said, clapping him on the shoulder. Ms. Lou is pretty cool. Just do the job right, and you'll be fine. Reaching the main gate, Leo waved. All right, man, I'm out of here. See you the day after tomorrow. Yeah, see you. Liam watched him go before heading down to the underground garage. The moment he got in the car, he saw the same Haley Liu who had been all business and authority minutes ago, now slumped in the driver's seat, the picture of utter despair. He couldn't help himself. "I had no idea you were the COO of Zenith Corp." "Ugh, don't remind me." Haley groaned, her face a mask of agony. "I don't know what kind of cosmic bad joke this is, but some petty little meeting gets kicked up the ladder and lands right in my lap. I swear to God." "Petty?" Liam raised an eyebrow. "Yes. It's a stupid conference call with a few logistics companies, and Evelyn calls and says Ms. Thorne want me to handle it personally. Can you believe the absurdity?" The floodgates opened, and Haley launched into a non-stop tirade. Logistics companies? Evelyn and Cassandra specifically sent her. A jolt went through Liam. He had a very bad feeling about this. "So why not just take a few senior guys with you?" Liam asked. "I'm brand new. Evelyn specifically told me to bring you. I have no idea what she's playing at." Haley griped, slamming her foot on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, and Liam braced himself against the dashboard. His eyelid was twitching uncontrollably now. This was not going to be good. "All I wanted was to drive around and chill," Haley lamented, gripping the steering wheel like she was wrestling a python. "And now this crap lands on me." "Fine, whatever." She floored it again, her expression one of grim resignation. "Let the storm rage. Maybe it'll just kill me and get it over with." The car's speed surged, and Liam instinctively grabbed the handle above his head. He didn't relax until they were on the highway with no other cars around. That evening, Cassandra didn't come home. Liam had slowly grown accustomed to life at the manor. He'd never experienced the kind of quiet, steady care that Maria, the housekeeper, provided, and it stirred a warmth in him he hadn't felt in a long time. The next day, as he ate the breakfast Maria had prepared, he struck up a conversation. "Maria, what time do you usually eat?" "Around 6 in the morning, I suppose," she answered, looking at him with a hint of surprise, as if it were the first time anyone had asked. "Usually before Ms. Thorne is up. On days she has an early start. I'll wait until after she's eaten." Liam frowned. Even her mealtime was dictated by Cassandra's schedule. The staff here didn't have it easy. "Maria," he said, a note of sympathy in his voice, "at your age, you should be enjoying a peaceful life, not living under this kind of stress. It can't be good for your heart." It was clear she rarely heard such words of concern. Her expression softened, her gaze growing warmer. "You don't have to worry about me, Mr. Liam. Ms. Thorne arranges for a full medical checkup for all of us every year. And while the house is large, other staff come in to help with the heavy cleaning. I don't have to overwork myself." "Is that so?" Liam nodded. He hadn't expected that. Cassandra was good to her staff, at least. It was just him she treated with such casual cruelty. The thought left a bitter taste in his mouth. After breakfast, he gave Maria a list of specs for a high-end laptop he needed. As efficient as ever, Maria had it delivered within the hour. He took the box upstairs. Ever since the incident in her office, he'd been fixated on finding a way to neutralize Zenith Corp surveillance. He couldn't let Cassandra hold that over his head forever. If there was a next time, he wanted the ability to blind her cameras, to level the playing field, to deliver a little punishment of his own. He needed to show her he wasn't a lamb she could slaughter at will. The laptop box itself screamed luxury. He recognized the brand, a top-of-the-line custom rig. He'd majored in finance in college, but his minor had delved deep into computer science. He knew his way around hardware. After unboxing it, he ran a full diagnostic, checking for any hidden spyware or monitoring hardware. Finding nothing but standard firewalls, he relaxed and opened a familiar piece of software, his fingers flying across the keyboard in a blur. The day vanished. By evening, Liam had worked until he'd passed out from exhaustion. The next morning, after a quick breakfast, he was in the car with Haley, heading for the office. "You should drop me off a block away," Liam said as they neared the Zenith Tower. "I can walk the rest of the way." "What for?" "I'll just pull up to the entrance." "No, we can't," Liam insisted. "If they see us, how do I explain it?" "Let them see. Who cares?" Haley dismissed his concern with a wave of her hand, giving him no chance to argue as she swung the car directly toward the main entrance. Leo and the other two guards were already waiting by the curb, along with Mark Warren. As Haley rolled down her window, Leo hurried over. "Ms. Lou, we're all here, but Liam hasn't arrived yet." He stopped mid-sentence as the rear window rolled down, revealing Liam sitting in the back, offering an awkward tight-lipped wave. Leo just gaped. I saw him on the way, so I gave him a ride," Haley said smoothly, then addressed Mark. "Are the vehicles ready?" Yes, right away." Mark replied quickly. He grabbed Leo by the collar, pulling him back from the car while shooting a conspiratorial, shit-eating grin at Liam. Liam just stared back, deadpan. All right, let's move out, Haley commanded, rolling up her window and pulling away from the curb. Behind them, Leo and the other two guards scrambled into the black SUV that followed, and the two-car convoy merged onto the highway. This is a rare opportunity. Your mother and I are out of town and can't make it back. Isabelle, you're taking Jason with you. I need you to guide him, to show him the ropes. This is the best possible training for both of you. At the Elysian Hotel, Isabelle Hamilton sat stiffly on a plush sofa in the lobby, clutching her phone as her father's words echoed in her mind. People in sharp business suits milled around, schmoozing and networking. Isabelle knew they were all competitors, but in this business, maintaining cordial relationships was part of the game. She should have been working the room, but she didn't recognize a single face and felt paralyzed, unable to think of an opening line. Beside her, Jason was acting like he'd never seen a five-star hotel before. He gaped at the opulent decor and, like a starving man, systematically devoured the delicate pastries from the complimentary spread on the table. Smack, smack, chomp. Since they'd sat down, his mouth hadn't stopped moving. The constant, wet chewing sounds grated on Isabelle's already frayed nerves. Jason, maybe slow down a little, she finally snapped, her voice tight. Too much sugar isn't good for you. Jason paused, a half-eaten macaron in his hand, his face crumpling into a pout. But sis, I've never had pastries this good before. Isabelle's heart clenched. She looked at her brother, her expression a mix of pity and frustration. I just mean, she sighed, softening her tone. The room is filling up with important people. Just try to be a little more composed. After the meeting, I'll buy you a whole box to take home. Really? Awesome. Jason's face lit up. Forgetting himself completely, he threw his arms around her. I knew you were the best sister ever. Isabelle could feel the stares of the people around them. She gently but firmly pried his arms off. Jason, behave, she whispered urgently. During the meeting, you sit next to me, you don't say a word, and you just listen. Try to learn something. Okay, he chirped, finally settling down. At precisely 8 o'clock, a sleek Rolls-Royce Wraith glided to a stop at the hotel's main entrance. Zenith Corp is here. Quick, let's go. A few middle-aged executives in the lobby shot to their feet and hurried toward the door. Isabelle quickly pulled Jason up and followed them. She counted the heads, including herself. There were 10 different companies represented, 10 competitors vying for the same contract. The pressure suddenly felt immense. As the small crowd watched, the rear door of the Rolls-Royce opened. A man in a tailored black suit and polished leather shoes stepped out, moving with a quiet confidence. It was Liam. His chiseled features and imposing physique immediately drew the eyes of several women standing near the entrance. He lowered his gaze, walked around to the driver's side, and opened the door. Haley Lu emerged, clad in a perfectly fitted pantsuit and dark sunglasses, a pair of sharp stilettos on her feet. Even with her face half hidden, many in the crowd recognized her instantly. Haley Lu came in person. This must be a major contract for Zenith Corp. A buzz of urgent, hopeful whispers rippled through the executives. The stakes had just been raised. Isabelle had heard the name before. When Liam had been running Hamilton Industries, he had once mentioned the key players at Zenith Corp. Haley Lu's name had been on that list. To think she would run into her today, Isabelle's heart pounded. This deal was far more important than she'd realized. She stared at Haley, feeling utterly outmatched. People called Isabelle a strong businesswoman, and she carried herself with a certain authority. But compared to Haley Lu, she was nothing. Just standing in the same space, she was completely overshadowed by the other woman's powerful aura. But then her gaze shifted to the man standing just behind Haley, and her world froze. Liam? She whispered, the name catching her throat. The face was one she knew as well as her own. What are you talking about, sis? Jason mumbled, craning his neck to see. When his eyes landed on the figure behind Haley, he went rigid. Liam, the man they had thrown out of their house, was standing right there, following Haley Lu up the hotel steps. The crowd of executives instinctively parted, creating a path for them. Liam walked past the Hamiltons without a single glance in their direction. Sis, is that Liam? Jason stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at Liam's retreating back. What is he doing here? How should I know? Isabelle was just as stunned. From the looks of it, Liam was working as security. After they had kicked him out, she had tried to find him, but he had moved from his old apartment and vanished. She had assumed he'd left the city. But here he was, working for Zenith Corp as a security guard. For some reason, the sight of him eased the knot of anxiety in her stomach. At least there was a familiar face here. If she had questions, maybe she could ask him. And, if she remembered correctly, he had just gotten out of Haley Lu's car. That had to mean they had a decent relationship. Suddenly, she felt a surge of confidence. With Liam as an inside connection, maybe Hamilton Industries had a real shot at this. A small smile touched her lips. "Come on, Jason," she said, her voice brighter. "Let's go to the conference room." Jason didn't answer. A venomous glint flickered in his eyes. He had no idea how Liam had managed to get a job at Zenith. Their security guards were rumored to be recruited from top universities. Was Liam here just to humiliate him? No way, Jason thought, grinding his teeth. So what if he's a security guard? Hamilton Industries might not be Zenith Corp, but we're still a respectable company. He's just a guard. How can he compare to me, the true heir of the Hamilton family? Jason sneered inwardly. Liam was probably just using this as an opportunity to make the Hamiltons grovel. As long as he was around, Jason would make sure that never happened. Noticing Isabelle was already heading into the hotel, he hurried to catch up. In the top-floor conference room of the Elysian, Haley was already seated at the head of the table. Liam and Leo stood guard at the main entrance, screening everyone who entered. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these smaller companies. A partnership with Zenith could change their fortunes. Everyone was cooperative during the security check. The process was quick, and in less than 10 minutes, they were nearly done. Just as Liam was about to relax, the elevator doors dinged open, and Isabelle and Jason rushed out, the last to arrive. Liam froze. He'd had a bad feeling about this yesterday. So this was the trap. He knew sending Haley was Cassandra's idea, but he never imagined she would orchestrate such a massive surprise for him. Was she testing him? Testing his feelings about the Hamiltons? Or was she just sitting back somewhere, watching the drama unfold for her own amusement? That woman and her sick games. He clenched his fists. Did she really get this much pleasure from seeing him squirm? "Liam, it's been a while." Isabelle approached, a gentle smile on her face. Behind her, Jason put on a facade of innocence. "Hey, Liam," he said, his voice just loud enough for the people nearby to hear. "How'd you end up working security at Zenith?" Leo shot a curious glance at Liam. Liam's expression remained glacial. He raised the metal detector wand. "Arms up." Isabelle seemed taken aback by his cold, impersonal tone. Glancing into the conference room, which was now full, she bit her lip and raised her arms. Liam impassively swept the wand over her body, then did a quick pat down of her pockets. The brief, familiar touch sent a strange jolt through her. Taking advantage of the moment, she spoke in a low voice. "Liam, are you still angry?" "Dad and Mom, it didn't really." "You can go in." Liam cut her off flatly before she could finish. Isabelle bit her lip again, a wounded look in her eyes. After a long, searching glance, she walked into the conference room. Leo had already finished with Jason and waved him through. Once they were inside, Leo closed the heavy doors. He and Liam took up their positions at the front entrance, while the other two guards covered the rear. As the meeting began inside, Leo couldn't hold back his curiosity. "Dude, that woman. You know her?" "No," Liam said, his voice firm. "Don't know her? She was calling you Liam all sweet-like." Leo muttered, then his eyes widened in realization. He clapped a hand on Liam's shoulder, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "Oh, I get it. You dog. You ghosted her, didn't you?" Liam, who had just taken a sip of water, nearly choked. "What the hell are you talking about? You think I'm that kind of guy? Well, you won't even admit you know her when she calls your name." Leo waggled his eyebrows suggestively. "And come on, man, she's not bad looking. A director at her own company, a real career woman. How could you just dump someone like that?" Liam shot him an exasperated look. "Do you know how old she is? And how old I am? Get your head out of the gutter. What's age got to do with it? She looks like she's maybe 28, 29. These days, you're lucky to find anyone. And you know what they say, an older woman knows what she's doing. Sounds like you hit the jackpot twice over." Liam's mouth twitched. 90% of what Leo said was garbage, but one part was true. Isabelle was undeniably attractive, with a good figure, the very picture of a successful career woman. But he knew the truth. The career woman persona was a facade. At Hamilton Industries, she was practically just a figurehead, signing contracts he put in front of her while he did all the real work. For the 2 years he ran the company, she'd lived a life of leisure. He couldn't help but find it ironic that she was now here, personally attending a business negotiation. The Hamiltons must be running out of competent people. Jason was clearly a lost cause, so the burden had fallen back on her. Liam shook his head, clearing the thought. He wasn't a Hamilton anymore. It wasn't his problem. He fell silent, standing ramrod straight by the door, hands clasped behind his back, staring into the middle distance and letting his mind go blank. Seeing him check out, Leo took the hint and did the same, joining him in the quiet art of looking busy while doing nothing. The meeting droned on until 10 o'clock. Leo, checking the time, opened the conference room doors just as Haley's cool voice announced a break. These are Zenith Corp's terms. You can all discuss them amongst yourselves. We'll take a brief intermission. She rose and walked out, stilettos clicking. At the door, she addressed Leo. Go downstairs and give me a latte. Hand ground. Yes, ma'am. Leo nodded eagerly and hurried off. Then, she shot a quick, subtle glance at Liam. He understood immediately and followed her to an adjacent private lounge. Back in the conference room, the other executives immediately got on their phones, making frantic calls to their home offices. Isabelle, however, sat frozen in her chair. From the moment she saw Liam in the lobby, she hadn't heard a single word Haley had said. Her eyes had been glued to him by the door. Now, watching him follow Haley into a private room, her heart skipped a beat. She had been right. Their relationship wasn't ordinary. A wave of relief washed over her. She stood up abruptly. Jason, wait here for me. I'll be right back. Sis, where are you? Jason started to ask, but she was already gone, leaving him to swallow the rest of his question. Isabelle stepped out of the conference room just in time to see Haley emerge from the lounge and head down the hall toward the restrooms. The lounge door was slightly ajar. Her heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and hope, she walked in. Liam was sitting in an office chair, scrolling through his phone with a bottle of water in his hand. Seeing his familiar face, Isabelle's spirits lifted. She smiled softly. Liam. He looked up, and the moment he saw her, his brow furrowed in annoyance. Isabelle had planned to ask him why he was being so cold, but the heavy atmosphere in the room and the unreadable expression on his face made her planned words die in her throat. Her smile froze, and she defaulted to polite small talk. It's been so long. I never expected to see you working at Zenith. What a coincidence. Coincidence? It was nothing but a calculated move by that madwoman. A flash of irritation crossed Liam's face. He was already furious about being manipulated by Cassandra. Seeing Isabelle now only amplified his frustration. Do you need something? His tone was ice, laced with a barely contained fire. Isabelle forced a laugh, stepping closer. Liam, are you still blaming Mom and Dad? It's not what you think. If that's what you're here to talk about, then please leave. He cut her off without a shred of sentiment. I'm no longer part of the Hamilton family. I want nothing to do with your family's business. His words were so final, so absolute, that Isabelle was left stunned. Liam, how can you say that? After all, they raised you for so many years. You can't just. Wasn't leaving with nothing but the clothes on my back enough? He shot back. I don't know your family a damn thing. I've repaid that debt. Isabelle bit her lip, staring at him in disbelief. She couldn't deny it. He was telling the truth. The family's success in recent years was largely his doing, and he had indeed left without taking a cent. But what about the decade of memories they shared? How could he be so cold? Seeing her silence, Liam knew he'd struck a nerve. A cold smirk played on his lips. What? Are you going to try and guilt-trip me now, Isabelle? She was speechless, her face flushing with a mixture of anger and hurt. Finally, she managed to stammer. Liam, we may not be related by blood, but we grew up together. I was like your big sister. How can you talk to me like that? She shouldn't have said that. The mention of their shared past only stoked the flames of his anger. She knew they had all those years together, and she let it all disappear the moment Jason came back. They hadn't given him an ounce of trust. When Jason framed him, when David Hamilton had pointed a finger in his face and screamed at him to get out, where was Isabelle? She was in the comfortable office he had built for her, sipping tea and scrolling through her phone. She had the audacity to talk about their past. Rage boiled up inside him. Liam shot to his feet. He towered over her, and faced with his sudden, intimidating presence, Isabelle instinctively flinched. This is a private lounge for Zenith Corp, he said, his voice low and dangerous. He gestured to the stun baton clipped to his belt. Please leave. Don't force me to perform my duties as a security guard. Seeing the stun baton in his hand and hearing the raw menace in his voice, Isabelle knew he wasn't bluffing. A sharp pain shot through her chest, radiating outwards until her vision swam. Her eyes turned red. Liam, what happened to you? She whispered in disbelief. The Hamilton family is no longer my concern, he bit out, his voice dropping to a harsh command. Get out. Each word was like a stone, striking her heart with brutal force. She didn't know how she made it out of the lounge. Her steps were unsteady, her mind reeling. She couldn't understand how the Liam, who had always been so gentle and accommodating with her, could become this cold, cruel stranger in less than a month. Had their years of shared history meant nothing to him? Liam, how can you be so heartless? Sis, what's wrong? Jason's voice cut through her daze as she reached the conference room door. Isabelle flinched. Jason, why are you out here? I told you to wait inside. It was so awkward in there, Jason whined. I don't know anyone, and no one was talking to me. He looked up and noticed her red-rimmed eyes. Sis, were you crying? Did someone bully you? The implication was clear. Isabelle quickly wiped her eyes. It's nothing, it's nothing. Let's just go back inside. Sister. Jason grabbed her sleeve, refusing to move. Faced with Liam's coldness, Isabelle's heart ached. But now, standing in front of her, was her real brother, someone who genuinely cared for her. They were connected by blood. No matter what, Jason was her family. Her expression softened. She gently patted his hand. I'm fine, really. Let's go in. Jason looked like he wanted to argue, but when she gave him a gentle, pleading look, he sighed and followed her back into the room. Though she said it was nothing, Jason knew better. His sister was trying to stop him from going after Liam. Damn it. Even after being kicked out, Liam still had this hold on her. Jason had secured his place as the rightful heir. His parents and sisters doted on him, but he couldn't shake a deep-seated resentment. That bastard Liam had stolen the life that should have been his, causing him to suffer for years, to the point where he never even made it to college. How could he not hate him? And now, even his own sister was showing pity for the man. If this continued, what power would he have left in the family? He was the real Hamilton heir. Taking advantage of the pre-meeting lull, Jason clutched his stomach. Sis, I've got to use the restroom. Drank a little too much water. Isabelle responded distractedly, her mind clearly elsewhere. Seeing this, Jason clenched his fists and stormed out of the conference room. He was going to confront Liam. He was going to make Liam apologize to his sister, face to face. He had to establish his authority. He charged toward the lounge, his face a mask of fury. Seeing the door was cracked open, he didn't hesitate. He kicked it wide open with a loud bang. Bam! He stormed inside, but stopped dead in his tracks at the scene before him. You're hopeless. You're not supposed to pull it like that. Haley Lou had her back to the door, her hands awkwardly reaching behind her to fiddle with the zipper of her dress. And Liam was standing right next to her. Startled by the crash, Haley spun around, her face flushed with anger. Who the hell are you? Don't you know how to knock? Seeing the beautiful and flustered Haley, Jason's bravado instantly evaporated. He wilted. Liam knew exactly what had happened. It was one thing for Isabelle to come looking for him, but what nerve did Jason have? Rage, both new and old, surged through him. He grabbed the stun baton from the table, and before Jason could utter another word, brought it down hard on his shoulder. Jason cried out in pain, clutching his shoulder. Before he could recover, another blow landed squarely in his stomach. Liam showed no mercy, raining down 2 more heavy strikes that sent Jason crumbling to his knees. He didn't give Jason a chance to speak. He hit the switch on the baton and jabbed the humming electrodes into Jason's side. Bzzzzzt. A fierce jolt of electricity shot through Jason's body. He couldn't even scream before his muscles seized, and a few seconds later, he convulsed and passed out, a faint smell of burnt fabric filling the air. Liam stared down at the crumpled form on the floor and sneered. This thing isn't just for show. Haley quickly threw on her jacket, looking at the unconscious man with disgust. Get him out of here. He's revolting. Liam was surprised by her reaction. For once, someone was on his side. A grin spread across his face. He clipped the baton back on his belt. As you command, Ms. Lou. The hallways were empty. All the other executives were back in the conference room, not daring to miss a second of the meeting. Only Leo and the other guards were still outside. When Liam dragged the unconscious Jason out of the lounge, Leo rushed over. Liam, what the hell happened? He was trying to take pictures of Ms. Lou changing, Liam said flatly. I stunned him. Leo's face twisted in disgust. Seriously? What a pig. The lengths these people will go to for a contract. He waved over the 2 other guards. Guys, give me a hand. Let's get him out of sight. The 3 of them hauled Jason into an empty storage room across the hall. Leo called 911 and gave him the location, then saw Haley emerge from the lounge. He hurried over. Ms. Lou, are you all right? I'm fine, she said, though her displeasure was obvious. What should we do about this guy? Leo asked. Should we call the police? He watched her face closely and saw her eyes flicker for a moment. Then, to his utter astonishment, she turned her head and looked at Liam. What do you think? Should we? What the hell is going on? Leo and the other 2 guards stared at Liam, their jaws practically on the floor. Ms. Lou was asking a rookie guard for his opinion on something like this? Sensing their bewildered stares, Liam quickly put on a humble smile. You're the boss, Ms. Lou. It's not my place to make that call. Haley raised an eyebrow, studying him for a second. No wonder Ms. Thorne has taken an interest in him. He passed up a perfect chance to show off. Her eyes darted back and forth. Just have the paramedics check him out, she decided. Find out which company he's with and have them collect him after the meeting. Yes, ma'am. Leo and the others snapped to attention. With a room full of executives waiting, Haley didn't linger. She turned on her heel and strode back in the conference room. Liam pulled the heavy doors closed behind her, and the murmur of conversation resumed within. The hallway fell silent again. Leo sidled up to Liam. Okay, man, for real. I'm starting to think there's something going on between you and Ms. Lou. You're imagining things, Liam replied coolly, not bothering to elaborate. Leo scrutinized Liam's handsome face, and a look of dawning realization crossed his own. I've got it. It's because you're so damn good looking. That's it. From now on, I'm not doing patrol with you. You stand next to me, and you steal all the attention. Being called handsome by a woman was one thing. Being called handsome by one of your bros, that was the real deal. Liam couldn't help but feel a little better. He deliberately stepped closer to Leo, his taller frame easily overshadowing him. He slung an arm around Leo's shoulders. What are you talking about? In my eyes, you're the real ladies' man around here. Yeah, right. Stop busting my balls, Leo grumbled, though he was smiling. A ladies' man who's been single for years. Ah, but that's where you're wrong. What did you say? He stunned Jason Hamilton. In her penthouse office at Zenith Tower, Cassandra Thorne looked up from her tablet, a flicker of surprise on her face as she listened to Evelyn Reed's report. He did, Ms. Thorne, Evelyn confirmed, still sounding incredulous. Can you believe the nerve? He just assaulted a client's family member mid-meeting and knocked him out cold. She added, though, to be fair, that Jason kid deserved it. Trying to take pictures of Haley while she was changing. Cassandra didn't seem to hear the rest. A slow, intrigued smile spread across her lips. How unexpected. She had deliberately orchestrated this little drama just to see how Liam would react. He was always so detached, so indifferent. She wanted to see if he could maintain that cool facade when confronted with ghosts from his past. She never imagined he'd provide such a spectacular show. The excuse he gave was flimsy, but the vengeful streak it revealed. She found it utterly thrilling. This man was getting more and more interesting. Ms. Thorne. Ms. Thorne. Cassandra was so lost in thought that it took her a moment to register Evelyn calling her name. Pulled from her reverie, she answered curtly, What? Well, Evelyn said carefully, I doubt the Hamilton family will let this go. Of course they won't, Cassandra purred, crossing her legs. Her red lips curled into a smirk. Jason was their long-lost son, the apple of their eye. It would be strange if they didn't make a fuss. A playful glint entered her eyes. Give them the contract. Give it to them. Evelyn was stunned. Ms. Thorne, with all due respect, Hamilton Industries is small fry. We have no reason to be afraid of them. Afraid? Cassandra arched an eyebrow. She wasn't afraid. She was just having fun. Liam wanted a quiet life. She was going to deny him that pleasure. Just do as I say, she commanded coldly, and leak the story of Liam assaulting Jason Hamilton. Make sure our company's name is included. The moment Liam's name was mentioned, Evelyn understood. She nodded, a wave of pity washing over her for the poor man, being a toy for her boss. He was in for a rough time. When the meeting concluded, Isabelle stared in disbelief at the signed contract in her hands. The room filled with a chorus of congratulations, all tinged with envy. Congratulations, Ms. Hamilton. A contract with Zenith. We should definitely stay in touch. Ms. Hamilton, you truly are a powerhouse. You barely said a word and still won them over. Ms. Hamilton, could I get your contact info? If there's ever anything I can do for you, I'd be honored. In just a few minutes, Isabelle's phone was full of new contacts. She offered a few polite replies and then quickly excused herself. She was starting to panic. Jason had been gone for over an hour. It was nearly 11:30, and he still wasn't back. He didn't know the city, and this was his first time at a place like this. She rushed to the men's restroom and asked a man coming out if he'd seen her brother. The restroom was empty. Now, truly frantic, she ran down to the lobby. After a quick word with the hotel manager, she finally learned the truth. Shortly after the meeting had resumed, Jason had been found unconscious and taken away by paramedics. Forgetting all about Liam, Isabelle sprinted to the parking garage and sped toward the hospital. She had just found Jason's room when her father, David Hamilton, called. Isabelle, I told you to look after your brother. How could you let Liam beat him up? Through the phone, she could hear her mother, Sandra, sobbing in the background. Isabelle was completely bewildered. What? Liam was the one who hurt Jason. It's all over the news, and you don't know? David's roar was so loud it felt like it would shatter the phone. Your mother and I are on our way back now. Isabelle, what kind of sister are you? How could you let that ungrateful wolf hurt Jason? Dad, I didn't know, she pleaded, feeling utterly wronged. I was in a meeting the whole time. I just got the contract when I heard something had happened to Jason. Her father's tirade paused. You got the contract? He asked, a note of excitement creeping into his voice. Yes, the deal with Zenith Corp. Haley Lou gave it to me herself. Excellent. David was thrilled. It seems Zenith Corp knows how to do business. Their guard beat someone up, so they compensate us. His tone hardened again. But this doesn't mean we're done with that animal. Isabelle, you use this contract to solidify our relationship with Zenith. As for Liam, I'll make sure he's run out of New York City for daring to cross the Hamilton family. Sis, you're not going to believe this. Your ex-boyfriend is just a security guard. At their apartment, Justin held up his phone, showing an article to his sister, Jessica. That's what I should be asking you. Jessica shot back, looking at her brother as if he were an idiot. After all that, Liam was just a lowly guard at Zenith Corp. No wonder he was driving a Rolls-Royce. It must belong to the company. But that's impossible. Justin jumped to his feet, refusing to believe it. I saw it with my own eyes. The woman driving the car was treating him with total respect. A security guard would never get that kind of treatment. He had a point. Zenith Corp was one of the top 3 corporations in NYC. They wouldn't let a random guard joyride in one of their top-tier luxury cars. Especially not Liam, who had just been kicked out by the Hamiltons. He couldn't have been working there for more than a month. Unless he already knew someone at Zenith. Jessica's fingers tightened around her phone. Justin, are you sure you saw that correctly? You weren't drunk. I swear on my life, sis. Justin insisted, thumping his chest. I didn't even have a chance to drink that night. Jessica's expression grew serious. You clever bastard, Liam. You had an escape plan all along. A major corporation like Zenith Corp was her ultimate goal. Chad and his crowd were nothing compared to this. A single board member at Zenith could make or break 100 smaller companies with a wave of their hand. She thought for a moment. Justin, find me a car. We're going to Zenith Corp to find him. Justin stared at her. Sis, he's just a security guard. Why are we bothering? You're so dense. Jessica slapped him on the head. Think about it. This whole scandal blew up, and Zenith hasn't fired him. Does that sound like he's just a security guard? The realization dawned on Justin. Forgetting the sting on his head, he nodded enthusiastically. You're a genius, sis. You see right through everything. Enough with the flattery. Go get changed. We're leaving now, Jessica ordered, heading for her bedroom. After the meeting, Haley left immediately. Liam and Leo grabbed a quick bite at the hotel's cafe before heading back to the office for their afternoon shift. There was no time to relax. The moment Liam got back, he was assigned to a patrol route. Damn, they don't give you a second to breathe, Leo grumbled beside him. Liam just shrugged, a small smile on his face. That's the grind, my friend. It wouldn't be work if they weren't squeezing every last drop out of you. Leo gave him a long look and sighed. I don't get you, man. You clock in and out on the dot every day, but when you're on the clock, you're the most motivated guy here. I love my job, Liam said flatly. Leo just stared at him, then reached out and placed a hand on Liam's forehead. Dude, are you running a fever? Or did you finally snap? Leo had no idea that this job was Liam's hard-won freedom. The alternative was being imprisoned in that gilded cage with Cassandra with no escape. Compared to that, this was paradise. They completed their patrol circuit around the massive Zenith Tower complex. As evening approached and their shift ended, they headed back to the locker room to change. Liam pulled out his phone to check the time and saw a notification. It was a message from Khloe, sent half an hour ago. Liam, why did you beat up the Hamilton heir? His eyelid twitched. Seriously? Khloe knows already. He typed back. Aren't you supposed to be at home resting? I am. I took 3 days off. Still laid up, but I'll be back tomorrow, she replied, then immediately followed up with, what happened? I saw it on the news. Are you okay? The news? Liam froze, then instinctively opened a news app. The top trending topic hit him like a punch to the gut. Hashtag Zenith Guard beats heir, what the hell? A stupid scuffle like that is a trending topic? He clicked on the link. It was a real-time news feed, and they'd even published his full name. God damn it, Cassandra, are you insane? Was his life getting too peaceful for her liking? Was this her idea of spicing things up? Liam felt a primal urge to hit something. He was about to reply to Khloe when he heard his name being called. Liam, you have visitors at the main entrance. Instantly, everyone in the locker room turned to stare at him. Not knowing who it could be, Liam braced himself against the curious, speculative gazes and headed out. The moment he was gone, the chatter started. Man, this new guy is something else. Hasn't even been here a month, and he's already causing this much trouble. New guy? I saw him getting out of Ms. Lou's car this morning. Ms. Lou? He knows her, obviously. You think it's that easy to get a job here? Damn, I wouldn't have guessed. So, Ms. Lou is into his type. Damn, I wouldn't have guessed. So Ms. Lou is into his type. The speculation was getting wilder by the second. Leo, who was about to leave, couldn't take it anymore. He slammed his locker shut. What are you all whispering about? If you've got something to say, have the guts to say it to his face. His outburst silenced the room. The other guards quickly grabbed their things and scurried out. At the entrance, Liam stared at the black Mazda parked by the curb, running through a mental list of everyone he knew. Who could this be? Before he could guess, the car door opened. When he saw who got out, his brow furrowed in disgust. Liam, long time no see. Jessica approached him, wearing a pale yellow sundress and a bright, practiced smile. Seeing him again, she felt a jolt of surprise. Before, he had been like a puppy trailing at her heels. She never really paid attention to his looks. But now, standing before her, his handsome face was hardened by a cool indifference. The security uniform, with its high-collared shirt, gave him an intimidating presence. The sight made her heart flutter, and her smile became a little strained. Justin followed close behind her, a fawning grin plastered on his face. It was the end of the workday, and people were streaming out of the building. Most were in a hurry to get home, and paid them no mind. Liam's jaw tightened. What do you want? Jessica seemed to have anticipated his coldness. She didn't get angry, but instead widened her smile. Don't be like that. I saw the news about you hitting that guy. Jason Hamilton had it coming. Well, look at that. The sun must be rising in the west. Jessica was actually taking his side. Liam arched an eyebrow. He knew she was up to no good and had no interest in playing her games. Without waiting for her to finish, he turned and started walking toward the underground garage. Jessica was stunned. She never thought he would just walk away without letting her finish her sentence. Being treated with such cold indifference for the first time sent a pang of shock through her. Biting her lip, she hurried after him. Liam, wait. I came here to explain. Everything that happened before was a misunderstanding. Look, I even brought my brother to apologize to you. She shot a look at Justin. He got the message and scrambled to get in front of Liam, his smile sickeningly sweet. Bro-in-law, I was wrong about what happened last time. I deserved that punch. I'm really sorry. He then performed a deep, formal bow. Liam paused, his eyes narrowing. What were these two playing at? Sensing an opening, Jessica pressed her advantage. Liam, I've been trying to explain for ages. I sent you a friend request, but you never accepted. I didn't know how else to contact you. As she spoke, her eyes welled up, her voice trembling, the picture of pitiable remorse. It was this exact act that had fooled him time and time again. Back when they were dating, no matter how bad their fights were, a few tears from her and he would be the one to apologize. But now, watching her put on this pathetic show, all he felt was disgust. Playing the victim? It was nauseating. He sidestepped Justin and continued toward the garage, not bothering to give her a second glance. She couldn't believe it. She was practically squeezing out real tears, and he was still completely unmoved. He was never like this before. If she cried, he would have promised her the moon and stars. Seeing him about to disappear around the corner of the garage ramp, Jessica panicked. Liam, stop. Her words were lost in the air. He didn't even slow down. Jessica stomped her foot in frustration and, ignoring her brother, broke into a run. Liam. She finally caught up to him, breathless, and launched into a tearful tirade. How could you do this to me? I know I was wrong to be so harsh with you before, but I know that now. I'm sorry. Wrong? Liam stopped, nearly laughing out loud. She cheated on him, and a simple, I'm sorry was supposed to fix it? What did she take him for, a complete idiot? He watched as her chest heaved with her ragged breaths, her eyes glistening with tears. She looked like a damsel in distress, wronged by the world. The sight of it made him sick to his stomach. He never realized how truly repulsive she was. Seeing him stop, Jessica thought she had her chance. Wiping away a tear, she lunged forward and grabbed his arm, pressing her body against his. Justin, who had just caught up, saw the scene and his jaw dropped. He'd never seen this side of his sister. Jessica's voice trembled with a sob. Liam, please forgive me. Let's go back to how we were. I don't even care that you're a security guard now. I'm willing to be with you. We can start from scratch, build our lives back up together, okay? Ugh. A wave of revulsion washed over Liam. He finally understood why she was here. Even as a security guard making a modest salary, she still thought she could sink her claws into him. Did she really think he was the same fool who used to transfer his entire paycheck to her account every month? He tried to pull his arm away, but her grip was like superglue. His patience was gone. With a sudden, violent motion, he wrenched his arm free, flinging her away from him. Caught off guard by his strength, Jessica lost her balance and tumbled to the concrete floor. The thin fabric of her sundress offered no protection, and a sharp pain shot through her hip. Ah, she cried out. Seeing his sister pushed to the ground, Justin's face flushed with anger. He rushed to her side, helping her up while yelling at Liam. Liam, what kind of man pushes a woman? She's your girlfriend. Girlfriend? Bullshit. Liam finally snapped, his voice raw with fury. I broke up with her a long time ago. Stop trying to disgust me. Justin, seeing red, balled his fists and started to charge. But just then, the headlights of a familiar, top-of-the-line luxury car swept into the garage. Justin's eyes went wide. He forgot all about fighting Liam. He grabbed Jessica's arm, pointing. Sis, look, that's the car. Jessica, ignoring the pain in her hip, scrambled to her feet and stared. The legendary Rolls-Royce slowed to a stop in front of them. The passenger side window rolled down, and Haley Lou leaned over from the driver's seat, a look of surprise on her face. What's going on here? Liam didn't bother explaining. Wasting any more breath on these two was an insult to his own intelligence. Without even glancing at Jessica, he walked over, opened the back door, and got in. So it was true. A private chauffeur, a top-tier luxury car. Jessica stared in disbelief. Before she could even think to shout his name, the car's engine purred to life and it sped away, disappearing from sight. Sis, I told you I wasn't mistaken. That's his private car, Justin exclaimed, his face alight with excitement. The moment Liam had opened the door, he'd caught a glimpse of the rich leather interior and the famous Starlight headliner. He couldn't imagine how cool it would be to cruise around in a car like that. The thought of all the envious, fawning looks he would get was intoxicating. He grabbed Jessica's arm and shook it frantically. Sis, you have to get back with him. I want to ride in that car. The shaking snapped Jessica out of her stupor. She bit her lip, a determined fire igniting in her eyes. He wants to ride in that car? So do I. She couldn't even fathom the likes she'd get on Instagram from a selfie in the passenger seat of a Rolls-Royce. She clenched her fists. No matter what it took, she was getting Liam back. What's the deal with the trending topic? Liam asked as the car sped down the highway, his voice a low growl. Trending topic? What trending topic? Haley feigned ignorance, keeping her eyes on the road. Don't play dumb with me, Liam snapped, the anger he'd been suppressing all day finally boiling over. Haley glanced at him in the rearview mirror. It was too dark to see his expression clearly, but his tone was unmistakable. He was furious. She forced a nervous laugh. Oh, that? Hey, that had nothing to do with me. Liam's brow furrowed. It wasn't you? No. Why would I do something like that? I've got enough problems as it is, Haley said, a hint of genuine frustration in her voice. Liam's eyes narrowed. He'd known Haley long enough to know she wasn't a troublemaker, just a chronic complainer. If it wasn't her, then there was only one other person it could be. Cassandra. What possible benefit could she get from throwing him into the spotlight? Now, Jessica knew where he worked. After today's scene, who knew what other drama was headed his way? His original plan had been simple. Find a quiet job as a gate guard somewhere remote, tend a small garden, and disappear from the world. Now, he was a trending topic. Everyone he'd ever known had probably seen it. His dream of a peaceful, mediocre life was officially dead. He ground his teeth in frustration. As the car approached the gates of Black Lake Manor, he asked grimly, Is Cassandra home tonight? Whoa, he's got a death wish. The fact that he used her full name sent a jolt of shock through Haley. She'd never heard anyone dare to speak of Ms. Thorne so casually. Did Ms. Thorne allow this? This guy is seriously something else. I don't know, she stammered, her voice unconsciously taking on a note of reverence. Liam said nothing more. As Haley drove through the gates, he saw that the entire villa was lit up. Two men in black suits stood sentinel at the front door. His heart sank. She was home. Fine. He had a few questions for her anyway. He threw the car door open and stormed out, his every step radiating fury. Welcome home, sir. Maria greeted him with a bow as he entered. Liam walked right past her, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on the woman seated at the elegant dining table. Her long hair was swept up, a few loose strands falling on the shoulders of a velvet gown. She held a tablet in one hand, a teacup in the other, sipping her tea with an air of regal grace. Over the top of the tablet, a pair of sharp, almond-shaped eyes lifted, fixing on him. She had the nerve to be calmly drinking tea. Liam felt like he was going to explode. He strode across the room and stood over her, his shadow falling across the table. Oh, sir. Maria, realizing what was happening, started to move toward him, but he was already standing before her mistress. She froze, her heart pounding. Ms. Thorne hated to be disturbed when she was reading. A new maid had once been fired on the spot for accidentally dropping a cup while she was reading. Maria wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead and prayed for Liam. But the next sound she heard was Cassandra's voice, lazy and mocking. "Oh, home from work?" Maria's eyes went wide. Enraged, Liam snatched the tablet from Cassandra's hand and slammed it onto the floor, the screen shattering. "You have a nerve to sit here reading?" he roared. Maria's legs went weak, and she nearly collapsed. But Cassandra showed no sign of anger. Instead, she looked up at Liam with an amused expression. "Well, after a long day of work, one needs to relax." The sun must have risen in the west. Her mistress wasn't angry? Maria rubbed her eyes, utterly dumbfounded. "Maria," Cassandra's voice was suddenly sharp, her eyes flashing with annoyance as she noticed the housekeeper staring. She set her teacup down. "This tea is cold." A shiver went down Maria's spine. Yes, Ms. Thorne. I'll go change it right away." She scurried forward, grabbed the cup, and fled to the kitchen. "What was the trending topic about?" Liam demanded. "And why did you send me to that meeting when you knew the Hamiltons would be there?" Cassandra's eyes twinkled with mischief. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her long legs, and regarded him with a playful smirk. "A small-time meeting like that is beneath my notice." They were so close, he could see the cunning glint in her eyes. He knew she was lying, but he had no proof. In a swift, sudden movement, he lunged forward and wrapped his hand around her slender neck. Almost simultaneously, doors to several adjoining rooms burst open, and a half-dozen men in black suits charged out. So she did have people hidden. Cassandra's eyes flashed, but her voice was cold and steady as she addressed her guards. "Get back." The men hesitated, then retreated back into the rooms. Liam was genuinely shocked. "You're really not afraid of me?" She smiled, a dangerous curve of her lips. "Try me." He gritted his teeth. This time he squeezed. A feeling of suffocation seized her, and Cassandra's eyes widened in genuine shock. Damn it, he's serious. But in the next second, "Oh my God, sir, what are you doing?" A loud crash echoed through the hall as a tea set shattered on the floor. Startled by Maria's scream, Liam, who had never intended to actually kill her, instinctively loosened his grip and glanced over his shoulder. It was the only opening she needed. Gasping G for air, Cassandra's hand darted beneath the dining table and retrieved something small and metallic. Before Liam could react, his hands were yanked behind his back. A pair of handcuffs snapped shut around his wrists. Maria rushed to Cassandra's side, her face pale with panic. "Ms. Thorne, are you all right? Are you hurt?" Cassandra gasped for air, the red flush on her face slowly receding. She rubbed her neck, her eyes blazing with a cold, hard fury. "All of you out here now," she commanded. The black-suited guards poured out of the side rooms again. Her voice was like ice. "Take him to the sub-basement." Just as they seized him, Liam's fingers, which had palmed a long dinner fork from the table during the confrontation, managed to bend one of the tines into a sharp angle. Two burly guards grabbed his shoulders, marching him toward the elevator. If his hands were free, he might have had a chance against them. But cuffed, his fighting ability was drastically reduced. He hadn't meant to kill her, only to scare her, but her taunting gaze had made him lose control. This was bad. He clenched his teeth, gripping the bent fork tine in his palm. As the elevator doors opened, he saw the floor panel for the first time. The manor had 5 main floors, plus 2 sub-basement levels. One of the guards pressed the button for SB2. The elevator descended. When the doors slid open again, they revealed a single heavy metal door. The lead guard swiped a key card, and the door hissed open. Before Liam could get a clear look inside, a hard shove from behind sent him stumbling into the room. The lights flickered on. When he saw what was hanging on the walls, Liam froze. Whips, chains, and other implements he couldn't immediately identify. This woman, she was truly insane. Who built something like this in their own home? His eyes started to twitch. Before he could process it all, the guards were on him again, forcing him toward a wall. "No, I have to get out of here." Liam's eyes darted around, quickly counting the men. Even if he took these 4 out, Cassandra would just send more. He might win this skirmish, but it would be a losing battle. Wait, the elevator. If he was right, the first sub-basement level, SB1, had to be the garage he'd been trying to find for weeks. And one of these men must have a key. He watched the 2 guards who had opened the door. They were still standing near the entrance. As another guard bent down to shackle his ankles, Liam made his move. He twisted, lunging upward, and drove the sharpened fork tine with all his might into the exposed neck of the guard standing over him. It wasn't a knife, but desperation gave it an edge. The man let out a choked scream, clutching his neck as blood streamed through his fingers. The guard at his feet looked up confused. Liam didn't hesitate. He delivered a powerful kick to the man's back, sending him sprawling. 2 down, 2 to go by the door. Liam snatched a heavy wooden paddle from the wall and charged, swinging it like a bat at one of the remaining guards' head. Crack! 3 down. The last man stared at him, his face a mask of shock. Liam, his own face splattered with blood, grinned like a demon emerging from hell. You want to lie down on your own, he said, his voice a low growl. But do you want me to help? The guard said nothing. He raised his own baton and rushed him. Liam sidestepped the attack and brought the paddle down hard across the man's back, then followed up with a brutal kick that sent him to his knees. The guard fumbled for his stun baton, but Liam was faster. He stomped on the man's wrist, then brought the paddle down one last time on the back of his head. The guard's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. 4 down. Liam finally allowed himself a deep, shuddering breath. But there was no time to waste. Cassandra could be down here any second, and he knew she had a gun. He quickly frisked the guard who'd opened the door. Just as he'd hoped, he found a car key fob. He scrambled back to the elevator and jabbed the button for Isabelle. The doors opened onto a massive underground garage. Liam let out a sigh of relief. He was right. He pressed the unlock button on the fob and followed the sound of the chirp to a sleek, black Bentley. He jumped in, fired up the engine, and gunned it. He knew the layout of the estate by heart. He found the garage exit and didn't even slow down for the barrier gate. He floored the accelerator, and the car smashed through it like a projectile fired from a cannon. If it hurts, Ms. Thorne, please say so. Don't hold it in. Maria gently dabbed Cassandra's neck with a hot towel. Her mistress had never been hurt like this in her life. Her skin, usually as smooth and flawless as porcelain, was now marred by an ugly red mark. Seeing it, Maria's eyes filled with tears of sympathy. That man was a monster. How could he lay a hand on someone so delicate? Cassandra's face was a cold mask, her teeth clenched, her eyes filled with a terrifying, violent light. Damn him. She never thought he would dare. It seemed a few days of freedom had uncaged something primal in him. Ding! The moment the landline rang through the grand hall of the manor, Maria's hand trembled. Cassandra Thorne flinched, a flicker of surprise in her cold eyes, but her command was immediate and sharp. Answer it. Maria nodded, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye as she hurried to the phone. Who on earth would call at a time like this? Don't they know Miss Thorne is hurt? She snatched up the receiver, her frustration ready to boil over. But before she could get a word out, the voice on the other end froze her in place. Noticing Maria's dumbfounded expression, Cassandra frowned. What is it? Mr. Thorne. He drove off. What? Cassandra shot to her feet, the single word a sharp crack in the silent room. Maria's voice was a shaky, disbelieving whisper. He just rammed the car right through the garage gate. He's gone. Impossible. Cassandra's eyes widened. Her personal security detail was handpicked, the best of the best. And Liam. She had personally handcuffed him. His combat effectiveness should have been crippled. How could he possibly escape 4 elite guards under those conditions? Miss, the gatehouse is asking if they should give chase, Maria relayed, her voice trembling. Cassandra forced herself into a state of chilling calm. Her eyes narrowed, and after a moment's thought, she spoke, her voice like ice. No, bring those 4 failures to me. Yes, miss. Maria nodded frantically, relaying the order. Sinking back in her chair, Cassandra subconsciously touched her neck. The faint scent of him lingered on her skin. After the incident, she'd had his background checked. The report only mentioned that he worked out regularly. She had no idea he was this capable. As her rational mind took over, she replayed the scenario. Fighting 4 elite guards while handcuffed was nearly impossible. But Liam had seen those things in the sub-basement. He must have realized what was happening. He wasn't just fighting to escape. He was fighting for his life. One side was just doing a job. The other was putting their life on the line. From that perspective, his escape wasn't entirely incomprehensible. How interesting. She had only intended a small, private punishment. She never expected to provoke the beast into a full-blown rampage. This man, he was good. He had successfully piqued her interest. So what if he escaped? Half of New York City was under her family's control. Besides, he was still an employee at Zenith Corp. If he didn't show up for his shift tomorrow, she wouldn't mind starting with his friends. The men she set her sights on never, ever left. Cassandra pulled out her phone and sent a message to Evelyn Reed. Pick me up at the manor tomorrow at 9, huh? The adrenaline was intoxicating. Liam floored it, the vintage Bentley screaming down the highway. The scenery blurred into an afterthought, his focus lasered on the road ahead. Cool night air blasted through the open windows, a baptism of freedom that washed over him. He should have done this ages ago. Gripping the steering wheel, his excitement peaked. This desperate, heart-pounding escape was a first for him. It was a hell of a change of pace. Suddenly, the idea of just coasting through life felt a little less appealing. The rush from that breakout, the surge of pure adrenaline, had awakened something in him. He drove for what felt like hours until the glowing neon sign for the New York City limits appeared ahead, finally pulling him back to a semblance of calm. Had he really made it to the edge of the city already? Liam slowed the car, pulling into an emergency stop area just before the toll plaza. He rummaged through the glove compartment until his fingers found a sturdy metal paperclip. With a few deft twists, he managed to pick the lock on the handcuffs. They sprang open, clattering onto the passenger seat. He looked up at the toll booths. Beyond them, he was out of the city, out of her immediate reach. He could leave, but where would he go? The world felt vast, and yet, suddenly, there was no place for him. Besides, he was almost broke. He'd only worked half the month, so no paycheck yet. He'd burned through most of his savings, leaving him with less than $1,000 to his name. Liam checked the time on his phone, 11:30 p.m. If it weren't for tonight's insanity, he'd be in bed, getting ready for another shift. A flicker of regret hit him. If he hadn't threatened Cassandra, hadn't put his hands on her neck. No, he slapped himself across the face hard. A few days in that lunatic's house, and I'm already getting Stockholm Syndrome. The world was his oyster. He'd find some temp work. His mind clearing, he opened his contacts and sent a message to Leo. Hey man, you up? It was late, and they'd had a long day. He wasn't sure if Leo would be awake. Liam scrolled through his sparse contact list, looking for a backup, when a reply popped up. What's up? A wave of relief washed over Liam. Of course that night owl was awake. He typed quickly. Dude, can you spot me a couple $100? Say, 300. He watched the Leo is typing. Bubble appear and disappear. He felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. They were colleagues, maybe work friends at best. They helped each other out on the job, but they weren't close. And asking for money as a grown man. Leo had every right to say no. A notification popped up. Venmo. You received $300 from Leo. It was followed by a message. You good? That for beer money, or are you actually starving? Liam felt a surge of gratitude, so strong, it almost knocked the wind out of him. Leo hadn't even asked when he'd get it back. He quickly accepted the payment. Something came up. I'll pay you back soon. Thanks, brother. Seriously. Leo's reply was simple. All good. With the $300 from Leo and his own cash, he had about $1,000. Enough to cover rent and food for a month, if he was careful. First things first, he had to ditch the Bentley. He drove it to a sprawling shopping mall, left it in the underground parking garage, and called an Uber. He might be down, but he wasn't out. He'd clawed his way up from the bottom during his time at Columbia. He knew the city's underbelly. Not far from the university, in a rundown, pre-war building in Morningside Heights, he found the old landlord he knew from his student days. For $500 cash, he rented a single, bleak room. He walked in, dropped his keys on a wobbly nightstand, and fell onto the bare, lumpy mattress. He started to make a mental list of things he needed to buy, but his body had other plans. After the day he'd had, the fight, the escape, he was running on fumes. Before he could even finish the thought, he was dead to the world. He woke the next morning to the incessant, jarring sound of his phone ringing. He glanced at the screen. The caller ID read, Mark Warren. Liam didn't have to think twice to know what that was about. His peaceful sleep shattered, he silenced the call and shut his phone off completely. What a joke. He was a free man now. If he wanted to sleep in, nobody was going to stop him. He's not picking up. In the security office at Zenith Corp, Mark Warren stared at his phone's disconnected call screen, his heart hammering against his ribs. He snuck a sideways glance at Haley Liu. He thought Liam was a decent, hardworking kid. He never imagined he'd just ghost his job like this. Now Haley Liu herself was here, looking for him, and Mark was sweating bullets. Miss Liu, Liam has never missed a day since he started. This is the first time. I honestly have no idea where he could be. Mark wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead, his eyes darting nervously toward Haley. Her face was a mask of cold indifference. Mark, he disappeared on your watch. Technically, you're responsible. Responsible? I'm being framed. You're the one who parachuted him into my department, and now that he's gone, it's my fault? Mark's mouth twitched, a silent scream of injustice trapped in his throat. He was getting older, had finally found a stable job with good benefits to support his family. He wasn't looking to climb any corporate ladders. He just wanted to keep his head down. Was he about to get fired over this? He opened his mouth to plead his case, his lips trembling. But Haley's voice cut him off. However, this isn't entirely your fault. She glanced at him, her tone softening fractionally. I'm just here to tell you to keep this quiet. If anyone asks, you say he's on personal leave. You just focus on doing your job. Mark let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. His heart, which had been threatening to beat its way out of his chest, finally settled. It seemed Miss Lou was covering for Liam. He quickly shook the thought away. It was better not to speculate about the affairs of his superiors. He nodded vigorously. Yes, of course, Miss Lou. You can count on me. I'll handle it. Haley said nothing more, giving him one last, dismissive look before turning and leaving. The office returned to its quiet hum. Mark sank into his chair, letting out a long sigh. This is exactly why you don't hire these young hotshots, he thought. The minute they have a lover's quarrel, guys like me get caught in the crossfire. Miss Thorne, he didn't show up at the office. Back in the Zenith Tower penthouse, Haley delivered her report, her voice tight with tension. She still couldn't believe it. In just one day, Liam had vanished, and from Black Lake Manor of all places. The security at that estate was the tightest of all the Thorne properties, precisely because it was Cassandra's primary residence. When Cassandra didn't respond, Haley assumed she was still seething. Miss Thorne, just give me one day, she said quickly. I will have him bound and delivered to you before nightfall. Her voice trembled. Haley knew that her boss rarely lost her temper, but when she did, the entire city felt the tremor. She had no idea what it was about this man that captivated her, but anyone who could escape that kind of lockdown was not to be underestimated. Bring him back, and then what? Cassandra's voice, melodious and clear, drifted from behind the high-backed leather chair, laced with a faint chill. Haley's heart skipped a beat, and then... He escaped once. He'll do it again, Cassandra stated simply. Haley's eyes widened. He won't get another chance, miss. I'll deploy the Thorne Special Unit. We'll have him under strict surveillance. She trailed off as the chair slowly swiveled around. Cassandra was leaning back, one hand elegantly tracing the line of her cheek, her eyes half closed in a look of lazy, aristocratic contemplation. The sight was breathtakingly beautiful. The only mar on the perfect picture was the faint red mark still visible on her slender, pale neck. Haley's breath caught. Just from that mark, she could imagine how intense last night's battle must have been. Cassandra casually reached out, her long fingers toying with a miniature bonsai tree on her desk. Just have someone keep an eye on him. Her voice was flat, detached. Haley's expression turned to one of utter disbelief. That's it. The man had dared to lay hands on her, and Miss Thorne wasn't going to retaliate? She was just going to let him go? This was completely out of character. Cassandra raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. What were the names of those friends he's close to? Leo. Haley stammered after a moment, racking her brain. I think there was also. He'll do. Cassandra cut her off. Inform Human Resources that he no longer works here. Effective immediately. Just like that, with a single sentence, she stripped a man of his livelihood. No reason given. Yes, I'll notify them right away. Haley paused, then asked, and the severance package. Should we process that directly? Normally, this was a detail far beneath Cassandra's notice. But this was different. It was a personal dismissal by Miss Thorne herself, of a low-level guard who hadn't committed any major infraction. Haley felt she had to ask. Cassandra's brow furrowed slightly. Let it drag. That's not a priority. Understood. Haley nodded. Every employee at Zenith Corp signed a contract, but a dispute over severance could be tied up in legal proceedings for months. That was easy enough to arrange. She quickly excused herself. Alone in her office, Cassandra lifted a finger and flicked a delicate blossom on the bonsai tree, a faint smile playing on her lips. After a sleepless night, she had a clear path forward. Trying to cage a man like Liam with brute force was pointless. He was born to be wild. Better than to let him realize the world had no place for him. Let him come knocking on her door himself. After all, she knew Liam's weakness. She let out a cold laugh and, with a sudden, vicious clench, crushed the flower between her fingers. Every muscle in his body ached. After days of sleeping on a top-of-the-line mattress at the Thorne estate, waking up on a hard, unyielding board felt like his bones were being ground to dust. But he was happy, genuinely happy. He hadn't felt this free in a long time. The cramped room was exactly as he'd left it last night, shabby, crowded, and clearly untouched. With the Thorne family's resources, they should have found it by now. The fact that they hadn't. Was Cassandra letting him go? Liam frowned and turned on his phone. A moment later, the screen lit up with notifications. Several missed calls, half from Mark Warren and a few from Khloe. There were also unread messages. He opened his messenger app. Besides his chat with Leo last night, the only other messages were from Khloe. He tapped on her name. The two messages she'd sent made him freeze. Brother Liam, Mark said you took personal leave. What's wrong? Are you sick? He also said they fired Leo. What's going on? In an instant, Liam's blood ran cold, then hot. Damn it. Is Cassandra insane? He's the one who went AWOL. He should be the one fired. How did it turn into him being on leave and Leo getting the axe? What did Leo have to do with any of this? He quickly pulled up his chat with Leo. Brother, you got fired? What happened? After a long pause, a single teary-eyed emoji appeared, followed by a string of frantic texts. I have no idea, man. I was just on patrol, and Olmar comes over and tells me I'm fired. No explanation. Just told me to pack my stuff and get out. Loudly crying face, loudly crying face, loudly crying face, bro. That money I lent you. I'm gonna need it back, ASAP. I was counting on my next paycheck, so I didn't have much saved. Now I'm screwed. Liam's hands clenched into fists. They were just work buddies, but after Leo had lent him money, no questions asked, he'd started to see him as a true friend. Now Leo was fired, and it was obvious this was Cassandra's power play, a warning shot aimed at him. And Leo had no idea he was just collateral damage. That damn woman. Liam wanted to teleport to her office and demand to know what the hell she was thinking. He should have just choked her last night and been done with it. But he quickly forced himself to calm down. No one had come looking for him while he slept. That meant Cassandra wanted him to come to her, to crawl back and beg. That was exactly why he couldn't go back. The first priority was to find a job, any job, and get Leo his money back. Liam replied, "Don't panic. Firing you like that is illegal. Talk to a lawyer. Start the wrongful termination process. In the meantime, I've got your food and expenses covered until I get my funds sorted." Leo's gratitude was immediate and overwhelming. "Thanks, man. You're a real one. I knew I wasn't wrong about you." Putting his phone down, Liam splashed some water on his face and headed out to a nearby convenience store to pick up some daily necessities. It was just afternoon, and the store was quiet. As he pushed the door open, the woman behind the counter, who was eating from a bowl of soup, looked up and stared. A moment of recognition dawned on her face. "Liam? Is it you?" Liam paused, a flood of memories returning. He'd spent a lot of time in this neighborhood during college and knew it well. The convenience store was owned by Rosa, a single mother who'd opened a shop to support her daughter. He used to come here all the time. He never thought she'd still recognize him after all these years. A warmth spread through his chest. "Hi, Rosa. It's good to see you." "Wow, long time no see." Rosa beamed, her smile genuine. "It's been, 2 or 3 years since you graduated. Where are you working these days?" "Some big shot job, I bet." Liam scratched the back of his head, embarrassed. "Nothing special. Haven't found a great job yet, actually." Sensing his discomfort, Rosa waved a dismissive hand. "Yeah, it's a tough market out there for everyone. You were one of the top students at Columbia. You're young. You've got plenty of time." "Thanks, Rosa." He was genuinely grateful. It was nice to be remembered. He grabbed some rice, flour, oil, toiletries, and a set of cheap sheets and a comforter, and brought them to the counter. Rosa glanced at his haul. "You moving in nearby?" "Stocking up." "Something like that," Liam said, his face flushing. "Had some trouble at work, and money's tight right now. Figured I'd get enough to last a few months." It was rare to run into an old acquaintance, and he found himself opening up. Rosa frowned. "This won't last you a few months. Besides, a strong young man like you can't live on just this." She murmured to herself, then asked, "You don't have a job right now?" The question was blunt, but he had no choice but to nod. Rosa thought for a moment. "Tell you what," she said brightly, "I'm short-handed here. I need someone to move stock. Why don't you work for me for a bit? I'll pay you daily. And for meals, you could just eat with me. I cook for myself anyway." Liam was stunned. He never expected her to offer him a lifeline. Seeing his hesitation, Rosa smiled. "When you were in college, you were always so good to me, bringing me little things. Everyone around here knew what a good, kind kid you were. We're all just regular people, Liam. Now that you're in a tough spot, I can't just watch you go hungry, can I?" Liam's heart swelled. He had helped her out back then, but it was nothing major. He never imagined someone would remember those small kindnesses. After navigating the backstabbing upper echelons of society for so long, he had almost forgotten what normal life was like. A world where not everyone was an enemy, where people lived simple, honest lives. When he didn't reply, Rosa thought he was too proud for the job. "Or you could tutor my Lucy," she added quickly. "She's a junior this year, and her grades are slipping. I was just thinking about finding her a tutor." No. Liam quickly shook his head. "Moving boxes is fine. I'm good at it, and I can help Lucy in my downtime." "Thank you, Rosa." Really? Impressed by his humble and steady demeanor, Rosa's eyes filled with admiration. There are so many angry, entitled young people these days. A kid like Liam was a rare find. She pushed the items he'd gathered back toward him. "All right then, come by later tonight. Take these with you. On the house." Liam was overwhelmed with gratitude. He thanked her profusely, then hefted 2 large bags of rice and flour onto one shoulder, grabbed the rest of his things, and headed out. As Rosa watched him go, a broad smile lit up her face. That was a good kid, carrying all that weight without a single complaint. After dropping his things at the apartment, the old landlord called him over, insisting he share the lunch he'd made, and peppering him with questions about why he'd suddenly shown up to rent a room in the middle of the night. Twice in one day, Liam's heart had been warmed by simple, human kindness. Suddenly, the world felt like a beautiful place again. After lunch, he went to the bodega. A delivery truck had just arrived. Without a word, Liam started hauling boxes into the store. He was strong, and a job that usually took 3 hours was done in less than 2. Rosa was full of praise. "Here," she said, pulling a $100 bill from the register. "This is for today's work." She added, "Lucy will be home from school soon. You have no idea how much she's missed you since you graduated. She used to talk about you all the time." "Really?" Liam pocketed the money, wiping sweat from his brow. "Yes, she'll be so happy to see you. That girl, I can barely control her anymore. Instead of studying, all she wants to do is chase after some boy." Rosa trailed off as a customer came in. She waved Liam toward the back storeroom to rest while she handled the front. In the small storeroom, Liam saw the desk he remembered from years ago. It was still the same, a pink, tidy surface, its main drawer locked. He remembered Lucy as a sweet, obedient little girl who used to follow him around, calling him Big Brother Liam because he'd bring her snacks. He wondered what she had become. He felt a pang of nostalgia. What? He's working as a stock boy. In the Zenith Tower penthouse, Cassandra's voice was sharp with disbelief as she listened to Evelyn Reed's report. Evelyn nodded silently. Forget Miss Thorne. She herself could hardly believe it when she got the news. "He's got some nerve," Cassandra muttered, the corner of her mouth twitching in a rare break of composure. He was rejecting her, a billionaire heiress, to go move boxes in a bodega. He didn't care about Leo's fate. It was such an unglamorous, menial job, and he was willing to do it. Liam, what am I supposed to do with you?" "Miss," Evelyn ventured softly, "perhaps we should just acquire the convenience store?" "No," Cassandra snapped, her jaw tight. "Find out everything you can about that bodega. Then have Haley arrange a corporate partnership." Evelyn's jaw dropped. "Ugh, a partnership? Has she lost her mind? Did she know what she was saying? Once Zenith Corp's name was on that store, the place would be mobbed." Before Evelyn could process it, Cassandra added another line, her voice now dripping with a playful cruelty. "He likes moving boxes? Fine. I'll let him move boxes until he drops." At 7:26 p.m., Liam stared, dumbfounded at the girl standing in front of him. She wore a bright yellow jacket over purple leather pants and black, studded boots. Her face was caked in heavy makeup, shimmery blue eyeshadow, dark purple lipstick, and a thick set of bangs plastered to her forehead. This was Lucy? Liam was speechless. Lucy, however, looked at him with wide, incredulous eyes. A brilliant smile spread across her purple-painted lips. "Big Brother Liam?" she shrieked, lunging forward for a hug. Liam's mouth twitched, and he instinctively sidestepped her advance. "God, I'm broke enough as it is. If I get that much makeup on my shirt, I'll never get the stains out." Seeing him dodge, Lucy's face fell. "Big Brother Liam, you don't recognize me? It's me, Lucy." Liam took a sharp breath. It wasn't that he didn't recognize her. He didn't dare to. The Lucy in his memory was a sweet, quiet little girl. How had she turned into this? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Brother Liam." Lucy chirped. "My mom said you want to work for some big company after you graduated. What are you doing here?" Just as Liam was about to invent an excuse, Rosa appeared. "Your brother Liam is on a break," she said, smoothly defusing the awkwardness. "He saw how busy I was here and offered to help out for a few days." Liam shot her a grateful look. Rosa smiled. "While he's here, you should get out your homework. Have him help you with the subjects you're struggling with." Clearly not wanting a lecture, Lucy mumbled a reluctant okay and dragged Liam by the arm into the back storeroom. Rosa just shook her head fondly and went back to the register. A moment later, she heard a commotion outside and went to investigate. In the storeroom, Lucy pulled Liam down onto her pink desk chair and eagerly opened a drawer, pulling out a notebook. "Look, Brother Liam, I've been writing in the diary every day like you told me to. My mom wouldn't buy me a phone, so I didn't know how to contact you." On the first page of the diary, Liam saw the phone number he'd given her years ago. A lump formed in his throat. When he graduated, Lucy had run all the way to campus to ask for his number. He'd given her his old one, assuming they'd never see each other again. He'd changed numbers not long after for work. He never imagined she'd have kept it all this time. A sudden wave of emotion washed over him. He spoke softly. "Lucy, I have a new number now. Let me write it down for you." "Okay," she chirped, handing him a pen. He wrote down his new number in her diary. "So," he said, trying to sound casual, "your mom tells me you have a boyfriend." At the mention of this, Lucy's face clouded over. Did my mom ask you to talk me out of it? Spike is really good to me. I'm going to marry him, and you can't change my mind. She ran a hand through her hair in frustration and shoved the diary back into the drawer. Marry him? Liam had to suppress a smile. The conviction of youth was something else. I'm not trying to change your mind, he said calmly. You said he's good to you. How's he good to you? This seemed to mollify her. She thought for a moment. Spike buys me bubble tea every day, and he takes me for rides on his motorcycle. Brother Liam, you should see it. It cost him over $4,000, and he only lets me ride on the back. All the girls at school are so jealous. Liam blinked. That's it? He asked, a corner of his mouth twitching. Yes. Lucy was getting excited now. He only gives rides to me, and it's so cool. He installed an $800 sound system on it. When we're riding down the street, everyone stares at us. It's probably because you're so loud, Liam thought, unsure of what to say. It was true what they said. You had to raise a girl with high standards, or she'd fall for the first burnout with a motorcycle. Brother Liam, Spike is taking me for a ride tomorrow night. You should come with us. I want you to see his bike. I can introduce you. Lucy was practically vibrating with excitement, clinging to his arm. Liam didn't need to meet him to know exactly what kind of kid Spike was. If he weren't so broke right now, he'd take Lucy out himself and show her what real class looked like. He sighed. I can't tomorrow. For now, let's look at your homework. His words were like a bucket of cold water. Though reluctant, Lucy obediently pulled out her textbooks. One glance was all it took. Liam could see she hadn't seriously studied since her sophomore year. The books were covered in doodles, entire paragraphs blacked out with marker. His mouth twitched. This kid, what am I going to do with her? But he promised Rosa he'd help, and she had been so kind to him. He had to try. He spent the next hour tutoring her. He didn't know if he was being too serious or too strict, but by the end of it, Lucy was visibly annoyed. It was after 10 when he finally left the bodega. Walking back to his apartment, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Lucy's academic foundation was a wreck. He knew she was smart. If she just applied herself, with his help, she could definitely pass her finals and get into a decent state college. The problem was, she had zero desire to learn. Liam sighed. He decided that after he paid Leo back, he'd save up some money and take Lucy out to see a bit more of the world. A week passed. He fell into a routine at the bodega. Since he was eating and drinking at the store, he managed to save enough to pay Leo back, with about $1,000 left over. Enough to get him through the month. On Monday morning, like clockwork, he arrived at the bodega to help Rosa, but when he got there, he found a crew of workers busy installing a brand new sign. A massive crowd of people was already snaked around the block. Before he could even process the scene, Rosa was waving at him, her face glowing with excitement. Liam, quick, come here. He walked over, confused. Rosa, what's going on? I don't know what lucky star I wished on, she gushed, but some big boss came by and said they want to do a corporate partnership with my store. I get a 50% commission on all their products. A partnership? Liam froze. A convenience store partnership? It was a great opportunity. Using a big company's name would bring in tons of customers. Judging by the line, the whole neighborhood was about to get a lot busier. But he had to be cautious about the contract. Thinking of Rosa as his benefactor, he felt compelled to warn her. Rosa, did you read the contract carefully? You have to watch out for scams. But Rosa just waved his concerns away. Oh, no need. It's a huge company. They said it's one of the top 3 corporations in New York City. Now Liam was even more worried. One of the top 3 companies in the city wants to partner with a tiny bodega? This smelled like a scam. Rosa, there are a lot of con artists out there these days, he urged. You should be careful. Let me see the contract. I can look it over for you. Seeing his serious expression, Rosa felt a flicker of doubt. Okay, sure. It's better to be safe. I don't really understand all this legal stuff. Liam nodded and took the contract she handed him. But when his eyes fell on a massive, bolded logo at the top of the page, his world came crashing down. Zenith Corp. Liam, what do you think? Is it real? I can't make heads or tails of it, Rosa said, peering over his shoulder. But the man who brought it said, I get half the profits. At this rate, I might actually be able to buy a place in the city. Liam's jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. He wanted to scream that it was a scam, a trap. But it was too late. Rosa's signature was already on the dotted line. The deal was done. He should have known that woman wouldn't let him go so easily. He'd had a whole week of peace, and all the while, she was cooking up this massive, elaborate scheme. Liam, seeing his silence and pale face, Rosa started to panic. Is there something wrong with the contract? No, Liam managed, setting the contract down on the counter. It's not a scam, is it? Rosa's heart pounded. No, it's a real corporation. Liam had to force the words out, swallowing the bitter truth. Rose's tense expression immediately melted into pure joy. Oh good. As long as it's not a scam, we're golden. Liam, this partnership means we're going to get a lot more stock. It's going to be a lot of work for you, but you work hard and I'll raise your pay. Beaming, she tucked the contract into a drawer and locked it. Liam took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. The crowd outside was getting restless. As soon as the new sign was up, Rosa opened the doors. Instantly, the tiny 200-square-foot bodega was packed shoulder to shoulder. A Zenith Corp partnership? No way. If we shop here enough, maybe we'll get to meet someone from the company. Dream on. You think their execs have nothing better to do than hang out at a bodega? You never know. I've never heard of Zenith partnering with a corner store before. Hey, where's the iced tea? You're out of stock already. Rosa was running around like a headless chicken. Liam, who had originally just been a stock boy, was now frantically trying to restock shelves, but it was no use. In a single morning, the store was half emptied. The story exploded online. Hashtag Zenith Partners with Rosie's Bodega. What kind of marketing stunt is this? A massive corporation like Zenith partnering with a tiny bodega. Hey, maybe if you become a regular, you'll have a shot at getting a job at Zenith? They're probably scouting for new talent in a weird way. Why else would they do this? I've been to that bodega. It's just a little shop near the university. What's the angle here? We should go check it out. In an instant, social media was buzzing. Influencers and TikTokers announced they were on their way to Rosie's Bodega. Within a day, the little store became the hottest check-in spot in the city. Liam worked all day without a moment to even drink water. Rosa's hands were sore from counting cash, and the sound of the credit card machine was a constant chime. Even Lucy, after getting out of school, was roped into helping customers. They worked straight through until 9 p.m., by which time the store had been completely picked clean. Even the packs of gum on the counter were gone. A month's worth of inventory had sold out in a single day. Rosa was forced to hang a closed sign on the door. The immediate problem was restocking. According to the contract, half of the store's inventory had to be supplied by Zenith Corp. At 9:10 p.m., 3 massive semi-trucks pulled up to the curb. When Liam saw the bold Zenith Corp logo on the side of the trailers, he finally understood the full extent of Cassandra's cruelty. Damn it, 3 truckloads of inventory? That woman was trying to work him to death. He was seething, but seeing the pure joy on Rosa's face as she counted her earnings, he couldn't bring himself to say anything. Rosa hadn't expected so much stock either. She hadn't hired any extra help, and now the only able-bodied worker was Liam. Staring at the 3 full trucks, she was so desperate she even roped in the old man for the tea shop next door. That brought their grand total of workers to 4. Besides Liam, the other 3 were senior citizens. This would take them until doomsday, and given the store's newfound fame, tomorrow would probably be even busier. Rosa found Liam, her face etched with worry. Liam, do you have any classmates who could come help? I can't find anyone else on such short notice. At this rate, we won't be able to open tomorrow morning. Liam thought for a moment. Don't worry, Rosa. Let me handle it. Okay, Rosa said, her trust in him absolute. See if you can find anyone. With all these customers, I'll pay $1,000 a week per person for the next few days. No problem. Leave it to me, Liam promised. All right, I'm gonna go make some dinner. You work hard. I'm counting on you. Rosa patted his shoulder, relieved to finally have a moment to breathe. Liam pulled out his phone, considering Cassandra's plan. She was doing all this to make him break, to force him to come crawling back to her. But things were never that simple. He was done being tortured by that madwoman. He'd rather die than go back. She wanted to bury him in boxes? Fine. 2 could play at that game. He made a call to Leo, then searched for her and joined a few local student job groups on social media. At 9:30 p.m., when Leo arrived, he took one look at the mountain of cargo, and his jaw dropped. Dude, you didn't say it was this much. Leo's mouth twitched. There was no way the 2 of them could move all this. Don't worry, reinforcements are on the way, Liam said with a grin, clapping him on the shoulder. Leo frowned. I'm not kidding, man. This is at least a 20-person job, and that's not even counting stocking the shelves. There's no way we can do this. Before he could finish his sentence, a horde of college-aged kids swarmed into the storefront. Liam smiled and stepped forward, taking charge. All right, listen up. Let's get organized. You 5 on the truck unloading. You 10 from a line and past the boxes. The rest of you inside, stocking shelves. He raised his voice. Time is tight tonight, and I know your dorms have an 11 p.m. curfew. Let's hustle. If you do a good job, you can come back tomorrow. Pay is daily. $100 cash each. $100? Daily cash. The 20 strapping college students' eyes lit up. Following Liam's instructions, The group began working with surprising efficiency. Leo stared, dumbfounded. So, brother, he said, baffled. If they're doing all the work, what are we doing? Inventory. Liam produced 2 clipboards and handed one to Leo with a grin. We supervise and keep track of the stock. Leo's spirits lifted instantly. He grabbed 2 folding chairs from inside, and he and Liam sat down like a couple of kings, leisurely checking off items on their clipboards. Just as Rosa finished making dinner, she came out and saw the scene. Her jaw went slack. She quickly pulled Liam aside. Liam, where on earth did you find all these people? Student part-time job groups. Rosa's mouth twitched. But all these people, the wages. Before she could finish, Liam knew what she was thinking. He smiled reassuringly. Rosa, don't worry. Zenith Corp is a massive, famous company. Your customer base is only going to grow. You just relax, be the boss, and count your money. Hearing this, Rosa's worried frown finally smoothed out. If you say so. She looked at Liam with absolute trust, her voice full of newfound authority. From now on, you're in charge of all the ordering. Just tell me how much money you need, and I'll transfer it to you. Thank you for your trust, Rosa. You can count on me, Liam said with a smile. Once we make our first big profit, you can start thinking about expanding. Open a real supermarket, hire a dozen people. You could retire early. The thought made Rosa's face glow. Early retirement was something she had never dared to dream of in her entire life. She thought running a small bodega in New York was the best she could do. She never imagined she'd strike it rich in her later years. I knew you were special. A top university student is just different. Rosa patted Liam's shoulder excitedly, her eyes shining. I never had much schooling. I've never seen anything like this. I'm so lucky to have you. I wouldn't have known what to do. You're my lucky star, Liam. Since you came, everything has been going my way. My life is finally looking up. Rosa couldn't stop smiling, praising him endlessly. Liam started to feel a little embarrassed. What could he say? That this was all an elaborate plot by Cassandra to torture him? Still, he had to admit, it was surprising she hadn't sent her goons to drag him back by now. But a return trip to beg at her feet? Impossible. The partnership contract was ironclad. Even if Cassandra broke it and pulled her stock, the penalty clause would give Rosa a massive payout. She couldn't lose. If Cassandra wanted to play hardball, fine. Let her come. He'd never been one to back down from a fight. Liam's eyes hardened with resolve. He gripped his clipboard. Rosa, I'm going to go check the inventory. We could talk more later. Okay, she nodded, beaming. Those kids are working so hard. Tell them that from now on, if they work nights, I'll cook a big meal for everyone. They can eat before they go home. You got it. Liam grinned and went back to his post at the front of the store. The 20-odd students worked quickly. They finished the entire job in under 2 hours. When they saw the cash in their hands, their faces lit up. Liam watched the $10,000 drain from his Venmo account, but he couldn't stop smiling. College kids were cheap labor. Tomorrow night, he called out, dinner's on the house. A cheer went up from the students. $100 a day, cash, free food, and a good workout? This was way better than running on a treadmill at the gym. A swarm of them rushed over, asking for his contact info. As they left, they were all praise. Thanks, boss. See you tomorrow. I moved almost 50 boxes today. That's nothing. I moved 87. Both of you, quiet down. I moved 100, and I wasn't bragging. Liam, just post in the group tomorrow. We'll be here right after class. See you tomorrow, man. After sending off the students, Liam transferred another $1,000 to Leo. You coming back tomorrow? Hell yeah, I'm coming back. Leo quickly accepted the payment, grinning. This is way better than my old job. I just sat here and checked off a list for a couple hours and made this much. You couldn't drag me away. Liam slung an arm over Leo's shoulder. Come on, I'm buying. Let's go get some barbecue. For real, man. Leo's eyes lit up. Does his face look like it's lying? Let's go, let's go. Just as Liam predicted, the media frenzy continued. For a solid week, with influencers and internet celebrities making pilgrimages to the store, the foot traffic at Rosie's bodega only increased. Every day, Liam put out a call for student workers, and the gig was so popular that part-time job groups at every university in the area were blowing up with requests. He never had to worry about finding help. He even designed a membership program for the store, which sparked a frenzy of customers signing up. The reason was simple. Zenith Corp was notoriously difficult to get into, but the pay and benefits were legendary. And, more importantly, its board of directors consisted almost entirely of stunning women. This unprecedented partnership with a bodega had piqued everyone's curiosity. People flocked to the store to see what Zenith was up to and hopefully get noticed. In this day and age, who didn't want to rub elbows with a major corporation? And so, one morning a week later, even Justin drove up to the store. Brother-in-law, So this is where you've been hiding. I was wondering why I hadn't seen you at the office. Liam was ringing up a customer. When he saw who it was, his smile vanished. Why was this parasite so persistent? Justin scurried over, his smile sycophantic. Brother-in-law, you should have told me you were working here. I could have brought my boys over to support the business. I'm not your brother-in-law. Liam snapped without looking at him. Your sister and I broke up. Justin's eyes darted around. Undeterred, he grabbed a huge armful of snacks and dumped them on the counter, using the transaction as an excuse to talk. Liam scanned the items with cold efficiency. $563. Wait, I'll get some more. Justin dropped the line and grabbed a basket, doing another frantic lap of the store. A minute later, he returned with another pile of junk. He bought, Liam scanned. He didn't care who it was. If someone wanted to throw money at him, he'd take it. Liam continued scanning, his face a stony mask. Justin leaned in conspiratorially. So, brother-in-law, is Zenith Corp planning to launch a chain of supermarkets? Give me a little tip. I can get my sister to open one too. Total is $890, Liam said flatly. And add this too. I'll take all of it. Justin pointed to the gum on the counter, craning his neck. Come on, brother-in-law, just a little hint. $1,035. Noticing the impatient grumbling from the line behind him, Justin quickly pulled out his phone to pay. Liam scanned the code, and as soon as the payment confirmation chimed, he called out, "Next!" Justin, juggling his mountain of groceries, shouted as he was pushed along by the crowd. I'll bring my sister by tomorrow, brother-in-law. We'll talk then. Liam's mouth twitched in annoyance. He ignored him and focused on the next customer. He hired college students. Of course he did. In her penthouse office, Cassandra stared at the daily report on Liam's activities that Evelyn had sent. A rare crack appeared in her perfectly composed facade. She never would have imagined Liam would resort to such a lowbrow, common tactic, and he was taking a cut of their pay. He'd made at least a few $1,000s for himself over the past week. The man was absolutely shameless. Cassandra's teeth ground together. She couldn't fathom it. Why would anyone willingly do such menial, back-breaking labor? For a measly $100 a day? Were these people insane? It made no sense to her. And now, her plan had completely backfired. These students were doing all the work, and Liam was sitting back like some kind of mob boss, collecting his due. At this rate, when would he ever break and come crawling back to her? She bit her lip, a dangerous glint in her eye. She would not let him get away with this. She narrowed her eyes and sent a message to Evelyn. Prepare a car. We're going to that convenience store tomorrow afternoon. Hey, aren't you one of the security guards from Zenith Corp? What are you doing working the register here? The next morning, Isabelle Hamilton stared in surprise at the man behind the counter. Leo, busy scanning groceries, looked up and recognized the beautiful woman in front of him. Wasn't this the sister of that creep his buddy had beaten up? Isabelle pressed on, her surprise evident. Is your company planning on opening a chain of supermarkets? Why are you working here? Even though he'd been fired, the memory of her perverted brother trying to spy on girls was still fresh and disgusting in Leo's mind. Like brother, like sister, he thought. Even if she was a beauty, his attitude was frosty. $358. Cash or card? Isabelle was taken aback. Besides Liam, no one had ever spoken to her with such cold indifference. She was a Hamilton, a director of her family's company. He was just a cashier. Who did he think he was? And in front of all these people, no less. It was a public humiliation. Her face darkened. But then she remembered the partnership between Zenith and this bodega, and the fact that one of their employees was now working here. Her father had explicitly told her to foster a good relationship with Zenith Corp. She swallowed her pride. I'll sign up for a membership, she said, pulling out her phone, her eyes scanning the crowded store. Leo moved with swift efficiency, scanning her payment code and pushing her items aside. Phone number. Isabelle recited her number. As Leo typed in her information, she couldn't help but ask, is Liam still with the company? A spike of anger had been lodged in her heart ever since the incident. Her brother Jason was still laid up in a hospital bed, her parents sleepless with worry. Yet, she had heard nothing about Zenith Corp firing Liam. Leo glanced up, instantly understanding. She was here to cause trouble for Liam. On impulse, he blurted out, don't bother looking. He's not here. It was the most obvious lie he could have told. Isabelle immediately caught the implication. She wanted to ask more, but the person behind her pushed forward impatiently. It's my turn. Can you move aside, lady? The store was packed, the checkout line stretching out the door. Isabelle couldn't find another opportunity to talk. But from Leo's one sentence, she knew. Liam was here. She gathered her things and walked out. He couldn't hide forever. She would just come back at night when it was less busy. This wasn't over. Jason might have been kind enough to speak up for Liam after he woke up, but as far as she was concerned, Liam still owed her brother a personal apology. The store was so busy that Leo didn't even have time for lunch. It wasn't until 1 in the afternoon that he finally got a chance to breathe. The three of them, Liam, Rosa, and Leo, worked in shifts now. Rosa, who had already cooked a large pot of food, called for Leo to come eat while she took over the register. He went to the back storeroom and found Liam, shirtless, sitting and eating. Leo wiped the sweat from his brow. "I swear, man, you're taking it easy back here. You know the guy you beat up? His sister was just here." Liam's hand, holding a piece of meat, paused. "Isabelle Hamilton came here. I guess that's her name. I don't know, but she was definitely looking for you." Leo scooped some food from the pot. "Don't worry, your boy didn't sell you out. I told her you weren't here. She signed up for a membership and left." Liam's mouth twitched. "That's not selling me out? After a lie like that, who wouldn't know he was here?" But he didn't blame Leo. With Zenith's name on the store, it was only a matter of time before a Hamilton showed up, especially since their companies had just signed a deal. A confrontation with Isabelle was inevitable. He didn't say anything more, just scooped a large spoonful of meat on a Leo's plate. "You've worked hard. Eat up. You got it. Justin, are you sure this is the right place?" In a beat-up old Honda Civic, Jessica stared out at the crowded, narrow streets of the neighborhood near the university. "Yeah, I saw him here last time, sis. Brother-in-law is definitely at this bodega." Justin was practically bouncing in his seat. "Sis, you have to talk to him this time. The down payment for my house is riding on you." Jessica shot him a dark look. "I know. If she could win Liam back, that Rolls-Royce alone was worth a fortune. It would cover the down payment for Justin's house and a place in the city for herself. She could finally become the wealthy socialite she'd always dreamed of being. She hadn't been blessed with these looks for nothing. Liam was probably still hurt, but 3 years of history didn't just vanish. This had to be a test. If she was sincere enough, if she just apologized properly, he would surely forgive her. What she'd said was harsh, but it wasn't that big of a mistake in the grand scheme of things. The more she thought about it, the more confident she became. She even started urging Justin to drive faster. He wanted to, but the street, already narrow, was now choked with traffic from the new influencer hotspot. The car was barely moving. "Miss Thorne, there's a traffic jam ahead. It'll be at least 20 minutes before we can get through." At the edge of the neighborhood, a discreet but expensive Porsche sat idling. In the back, Evelyn relayed the news to Cassandra, her voice cautious. Cassandra stared out at the old buildings and crowded sidewalks, her expression turning 3 shades colder. If it weren't for Liam, she would never set foot in a place like this in her entire life. It reminded her of their first encounter in that grimy, dilapidated warehouse. She gritted her teeth, then grabbed a hat, a mask, and a pair of large sunglasses from her bag. "We're walking." Evelyn froze. Miss Thorne wanted to walk. It was early spring, but the sun was bright and warm. She was going to walk under the midday sun. This was the first time Evelyn had ever seen her boss break her own rules for a man. If Cassandra weren't sitting right there, Evelyn would have sworn she'd been possessed. Surprised as she was, Evelyn didn't dare disobey. She grabbed a large sun umbrella from the front and got out of the car. She opened Cassandra's door and held the umbrella over her, shielding her completely. Between the umbrella and Cassandra's own disguise of dark, casual clothing, she was unrecognizable. Side by side, the two women walked toward Rosie's bodega. It was lunchtime, so by the time they turned into the small alley, the crowd outside the store had thinned. As they approached, Cassandra took the umbrella from Evelyn and gave a clipped order. "Go get him." "Yes, miss." Evelyn nodded and was about to go in when Cassandra's voice stopped her. "Wait." Evelyn paused. Cassandra tilted the umbrella back slightly, her face lifting as she looked at the bodega's new sign, her eyes hidden behind dark lenses. A moment later, she handed the umbrella back to Evelyn. "Wait for me here," she said, her voice cold. "Miss." Evelyn's face was a mask of shock, but she took the umbrella. "Yes, miss." Cassandra's eyes narrowed. On slender, high heels, she walked to the entrance and pushed the door open. Her gaze fell on Liam, busy ringing up customers at the register. A small, cold smile formed on her lips, hidden by the mask. It had been days. The marks on his neck had faded. He was wearing a simple white shirt, his tan skin exposed. The faint remnants of her work were still there, just visible to her discerning eye. She smirked and walked directly to the front of the checkout line. "Hey, what are you doing? Get in line. Do you have any manners?" The two people she'd cut in front of started to complain, but they trailed off when they got a look at the stunning figure of the woman before them. They stared, mouths agape. Liam looked up from his work, and when he saw her, he paused. "Ma'am, the line starts back there," he said automatically. It was a store rule. Line cutters went to the back. It's okay, it's okay. The lady is probably in a hurry. Let her go first, the man at the front of the line said, scratching his head with a bashful smile as he moved to the end of the line. Seeing this, Liam couldn't argue. What can I get for you, ma'am? It had only been a few days, and he didn't recognize her? An irrational wave of anger surged through Cassandra. He had fought so hard to escape her, and now that she had walked all this way to stand right in front of him, he acted like she was a stranger? She gritted her teeth. What? You've forgotten me already. The voice. It sent a jolt through Liam. It sounded familiar. But no, Cassandra Thorne, a billion-dollar heiress, would never personally come to a tiny bodega in this neighborhood. He was just being paranoid. It was probably a friend of one of the many new customers. A hint of impatience crept into his voice. Ma'am, if you're here to buy something, please do it. There's a line. You're holding everyone up. Behind her sunglasses, Cassandra's eyes were practically shooting flames. Good, Liam. Very good. He couldn't even recognize her voice anymore. It seemed her previous punishments weren't severe enough. He was practically begging for it. She bit her lip, reached up, and pulled her sunglasses down just enough to reveal her eyes, which burned with a furious fire as they locked onto his. Do you recognize me now? The moment he saw those sharp, phoenix-like eyes, Liam's own widened in shock. It was her. This woman was certifiably insane. He had run all the way out here, and she had ignored her status and chased him down. He glanced at the long line of customers behind her. He couldn't let them know who she was. The store was just starting to make good money. If word got out that Cassandra Thorne was here, the place would be mobbed, trampled, destroyed. Rosa, he yelled. Rosa, who had been in the back mending one of Lucy's shirts, came out. Rosa, a friend of mine is here. Can you cover the register for a minute? Sure. You go ahead, I've got it. Rosa said without a second thought, taking his place. Liam gave Cassandra a complicated look, his voice low and tense. Follow me. Cassandra pulled her sunglasses back on with a cold smile and, on her impossibly high heels, walked around the counter and followed him into the back storeroom. It was Leo's break, so he wasn't around. Lucy was at school. The moment the storeroom door closed, they were alone. Finally, away from prying eyes, Liam's voice was a low growl. What are you doing here? Cassandra calmly removed her mask and hat, her stunning face revealed in the dim light. I can't believe it. It's only been a few days, and you've already forgotten me. Her smile was a cold, sharp thing that didn't reach her eyes. The past few days of freedom had unleashed Liam's true nature. You're not exactly someone I need to remember, he shot back, his tone dismissive. Good. Very good. His words thoroughly ignited Cassandra's fury. She finally understood the meaning of letting the tiger back into the mountains. In just a few days, he had grown claws and a silver tongue. Liam warned, there are a lot of people out there. You touch me, and I guarantee someone will call the cops. He smirked, a fearless, defiant glint in his eyes. Miss Thorne, you wouldn't want everyone to know you were slumming it, would you? Instantly, Cassandra's brow furrowed in anger. You had better remember who you're talking to, she hissed. Oh, I know exactly who I'm talking to. Liam raised an eyebrow. Cassandra Thorne, who in New York doesn't know the name. His mouth was going to get him killed. Rosa was ringing up customers so fast her hands were a blur. Amidst the chaos, she heard a voice call out from the doorway. Excuse me, ma'am, is Liam here? Looking for Liam? Rosa was too busy to look up. Assuming it was another one of his friends, she just pointed vaguely toward the back. He's in the storeroom. You can go on back. Thank you, ma'am. Outside the door, Justin turned to Jessica excitedly. Go on, sis. I'll wait out here. He's probably alone back there. It's the perfect chance for you two to talk. You gotta nail this. Shut up and get out of here, Jessica snapped, before turning and heading purposefully toward the back of the store. Justin gave her a thumbs up. You got this, sis, he whispered. Don't be ridiculous. You really think you're God's gift to the world. Liam was getting angry now, too. Huh. Cassandra let out a cold laugh, her hand sliding down his chest. Just as her fingers were about to, a sharp, insistent knocking echoed from the storeroom door. Liam, are you in there? It's me, Jessica. I need to talk to you. Can you open the door? Jessica's voice echoed from the other side. Liam sucked in a sharp breath. Thank God he had a habit of locking the door when he was back here alone. If she had burst in and seen this, he would never be able to explain it. Oh, a girl. Hearing the female voice, a slow, wicked smile spread across Cassandra's lips. Liam's head snapped down. Get behind the desk. Now, he hissed. Cassandra's eyes glinted with amusement. Hide? Why should I hide? You're the great Cassandra Thorne. Are you telling me you're not afraid of being seen like this? Liam was losing his patience. How could she not understand the gravity of the situation? This was no time for games. Liam, I know you're in there. The lady at the front told me. Please, just open the door. I just want to talk. The knocking continued, Jessica's voice taking on a pleading tone. Cassandra's smile widened. An old flame that never died out, she purred, her eyes glinting playfully. Or one that's been rekindled? Rekindle your ass. Liam swore under his breath. He grabbed Cassandra's arm and shoved her toward a large metal shelving unit. To his surprise, she didn't resist, a playful look in her eyes as he pushed her into the shadows. Seeing her comply, Liam let out a sigh of relief. With the store so crowded, Jessica making a scene outside would draw unwanted attention. He turned and unlocked the door. Sure enough, Jessica was standing right there. The moment the door opened, she pushed her way inside, a sweet smile on her face. Liam, I came to apologize. Liam frowned, annoyed by her barging in. This is a private storeroom. Employees only. It was a clear dismissal. But Jessica acted as if she hadn't heard him. Oh, Liam, don't be mad anymore. I know I was wrong. When you get off work, how about I cook you dinner? The urge to physically throw her out was overwhelming. Did she not understand English? He didn't want her here. He didn't want her apology. He was about to grab her and force her out when a lazy, amused voice drifted from behind him. His whole body went rigid. She's going to cook for you personally? Cassandra's voice was a silken thread, followed by a theatrical, jealous sigh. Liam, you certainly are a lucky man. The moment she spoke, Jessica froze. She stared in shock as a woman with an impossibly perfect figure emerged from the shadows behind Liam. The woman's face was covered by a black mask, but the pair of stunning, almond-shaped eyes that peered over it were enough to make Jessica feel like a sewer rat. Whatever beauty she thought she possessed was instantly extinguished. Liam, on the other hand, was furious. Didn't she understand? What was she doing coming out now? Was she trying to get recognized? She might not be scared, but he was. If her identity got out, this little bodega would be trampled into dust. He shot her a murderous glare, but then noticed she was still wearing the mask. He let out a small, imperceptible sigh of relief. The woman wasn't completely insane. Jessica stammered, Liam, who is she? Me? Cassandra's eyes crinkled in amusement. She looped her arm through Liam's, her smile a cold, sharp weapon. Who do you think I am? The sudden movement was a jolt. Liam wasn't sure if it was for show or for revenge, but Cassandra's fingers dug into the flesh of his elbow, sending a sharp pain through his entire body. Jessica's face was a mask of disbelief. Liam, you have a girlfriend already. He hated the idea of being linked to this crazy woman, but he saw his opening. If pretending to be her boyfriend would get Jessica off his back for good, it was a price worth paying. She was becoming a major nuisance. So he decided to play along. A ready-made girlfriend had just fallen into his lap. He gritted his teeth against the pain, turned his head, and cupped Cassandra's chin. Her delicate jawline was just visible above the mask. She looked surprised by his sudden move, her eyes widening. The next second, he leaned in and pressed his lips to hers, right through the fabric of the mask. It was as quick as the flutter of a dragonfly's wings. The warmth of his breath, the unique scent of him, hit Cassandra like a heat wave. Even with the mask as a barrier, she felt a blush creep up her neck, her heart starting to pound. No one had ever dared to do that to her before. But the feeling wasn't bad. Not bad at all. She licked her lips, a flicker of disappointment crossing her mind. It would have been better without the mask. She was starting to like his initiative. Seeing the two of them in such an intimate embrace, right in front of her, with a woman 100 times more beautiful than she was, Jessica finally snapped. After searching for him for days, after humbling herself to come and apologize for something that wasn't even her fault, he not only rejected her, but had already replaced her. The smile fell from her face. She glared at Liam, her voice dripping with venom. Liam, I can't believe you're this kind of person. You were already lining up my replacement, weren't you? Liam blinked. My replacement? You're the one who seamlessly moved on. Jessica's voice rose. I should have known. When I broke up with you, you didn't even react. So this is why. You already had your next one picked out. Cassandra's eyes narrowed, a dangerous light entering them. She didn't like the sound of that. It made her sound like a backup plan, a second choice. Her gaze, unseen by Jessica, turned murderous. Liam, however, almost laughed. We broke up. Why are you still so invested in my life? The subtext was clear. We're done. It's none of your business. Jessica's face contorted in rage. You moved on without a second thought, and you have the nerve to say I'm being unreasonable? At least I know how to apologize when I'm wrong. I can't believe I ever thought you were a good person. Liam almost did laugh this time. This woman was genuinely deranged. He was done playing games. He slung his arm around Cassandra's shoulders, a clear declaration of ownership, and stared at Jessica with a triumphant smirk. So, "Are you going to leave now?" he asked, his voice devoid of any warmth. The sudden, firm grip made Cassandra flinch, but she recovered instantly, playing her part to perfection. She hooked a finger into the belt loop of his jeans, her voice a low, seductive purr. "When are you going to be done with this? You didn't exactly satisfy me last night, you know?" A jolt of electricity shot through Liam's entire body. Right in front of his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra had managed to get a reaction out of him. Damn it, this woman was a devil. Did she have no shame? But he pushed the thought aside. He leaned in, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Don't worry, baby. I'll make sure you're satisfied tonight." The scene was too much for Jessica. Her face twisted in a knot of rage. You two are disgusting," she spat, her voice shrill, like a common shrew screaming in the street. Liam was filled with revulsion. How had he never seen this side of her before? He must have been blind to worship a woman like this for 3 years. He wanted to crack open his own skull and see what could have possibly been inside. The insult, however, lit a fire in Cassandra. The playful glint in her eyes was replaced by pure, unadulterated rage. She stared at Jessica, her gaze so sharp and bloodthirsty that Jessica instinctively recoiled. But she couldn't swallow her pride. She pointed a trembling finger at Liam. "You just wait, Liam. This isn't over." With that final empty threat, she spun on her heel and stormed out. The moment the storeroom door slammed shut, Liam locked it again and immediately disentangled himself from Cassandra's embrace. "The show's over, Miss Thorne," he said flatly. The unspoken message was clear. You can leave now. But Cassandra wasn't going to let him off that easily. That brief touch, that fleeting kiss, had stoked the embers of a fire that had been smoldering within her for weeks. And she needed someone to put it out. She crossed her arms, the corner of her masked lips curling into a smirk. "Weren't you going to satisfy me? What's this? Done with me already now that she's gone?" "She can't be serious." He was just playing a part. "It was an act," he said, his voice cold. "Don't take it seriously. So you were just using me as an actress in your little play?" Cassandra's smile remained, but it was all ice. "You could say that," Liam retorted. "Weren't you the one who set the stage?" The words had barely left his mouth when Cassandra took a step forward, her high heel clicking softly on the concrete floor. Liam frowned and instinctively took a step back, but she kept coming, her advance slow and deliberate. Step by step, she backed him up until his hips hit the edge of Lucy's small desk. He had nowhere else to go. She didn't stop, closing the distance until their bodies were almost touching, close enough for him to smell the faint, expensive perfume on her skin. "What the hell do you want?" Liam's anger was reaching its breaking point. Cassandra slowly raised a hand. Her long, manicured fingers painted a demure nude pink, hooked onto his belt. Liam sucked in a sharp breath, about to lash out when she gave a gentle tug. His body lurched forward, and he heard her voice, a breathy, mocking whisper right next to his ear. "You set the stage. Shouldn't you at least finish the performance?" Her voice was soft, seductive, and utterly intoxicating. For a second, Liam felt his bones turn to jelly. He forced himself to stay calm, his rational mind screaming. This is a convenience store. There were people right outside. Was she crazy? The walls were paper thin. "So?" she asked casually, her other hand sliding up to toy with the collar of his shirt. The faint red marks on his neck were like a beacon, fanning the flames of her desire. He'd had enough. He grabbed her wandering hand, his grip tight around her wrist. "Miss Thorne, I suggest you calm down." To have something happen in this store, with him pressed against Lucy's desk of all places. A desk where Leo sometimes ate his lunch. He'd never be able to face them again. Cassandra tilted her head, her gaze tracking the movement of his throat as he spoke. The muscles in his neck were tense, his atoms apple bobbing like a fish desperately trying to leap from the water. She couldn't resist. She licked her lips. Then, she pulled his collar down, bringing his neck to her level. Through the fabric of her mask, she pressed her lips against his throat. The sudden heat made his whole body go rigid. He was about to push her away when he felt a sharp pressure. She was using her teeth. She bit down hard. Hiss! A sharp pain shot through him. A new mark, a perfect set of teeth impressions, now decorated his neck. He shoved her back instinctively. A flicker of amusement crossed Cassandra's eyes. She licked her lips again, a predatory smile on her face. "Very nice," she said, admiring her handiwork. Liam's jaw was so tight he thought his teeth would crack. He snatched a small hand mirror from Lucy's desk and looked at his reflection. The bite mark was clear, a lover's brand for all to see. He exploded. "You're a psychopath. I was finally able to stop wearing turtlenecks. What is wrong with you?" His outburst didn't seem to faze her. In fact, she seemed to enjoy it. "You should learn to like it," she said softly. It's like everything she gave him, every experience. Liam knew it was pointless to argue with her. He slammed the mirror down, his face a cold mask. Are you done playing? Get out. I have to get back to work. He turned and strode toward the door. He'd figured it out. She wore a mask because she didn't want to be recognized. Fine. He called bluff. He couldn't let her control him like this anymore. He was going to see just how much Cassandra Thorne really wanted to keep her identity a secret. Wait. As expected, Cassandra Thorne's voice cut through the air. Liam's hand froze on the door, a faint smirk playing on his lips. He guessed right. She was scared. He turned, meeting her dark, stormy eyes. Then I suggest you leave, Ms. Thorne. Beneath her mask, Cassandra's lips pressed into a thin line. She strode forward, tilting her head up to look at him, her voice cold as ice. You're coming back with me. Back. Liam let out a short, incredulous laugh. This is my home now. Where else would I go? A complex emotion flickered in Cassandra's eyes. She glanced around the cramped convenience store, a half-threat in her tone. Are you sure you want to throw a tantrum with me? The accusation was so absurd, it was almost funny, as if he were the one being childish. He scoffed. A tantrum is, Thorne? I'm a grown man. I don't do tantrums. Cassandra stared at him, her gaze intense. Is that so? You're certain you won't come back with me? Positive. Leaning against the wall, Liam gave her a lazy, confident smile. This was his turf. She had come alone. He'd be damned if he believed she could drag him out of here in front of everyone. Very well. To his surprise, she didn't get angry. She smiled, but it was a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The threat that followed was sharp and clear. I'll give you 3 days. If I don't see you at the manor in 3 days, I will personally destroy this place. With that, she shot him one last icy glare, pulled open the door, and left. Liam knew she wasn't bluffing. That woman always paid back her debts, and with the Thorne family's power, she could do whatever she wanted. She could make a place flourish, and she could just as easily grind it into dust. Damn it. He'd finally found a place to settle down, and now she was holding a hostage. Was he really going to have to move again? He frowned, thinking of the balance in his bank account. Leaving wasn't impossible, but going back to Black Lake Manor, she could dream on. He was no lamb for the slaughter. Liam, honey, Brenda, the store's owner, came rushing from the back, clutching her stomach in agony. Can you cover the register for a bit? Nature's calling, and she's screaming. Liam quickly nodded, heading for the counter. No problem, Brenda. MMS. Thorne, where are we going? In the back seat of the Bentley, Evelyn Reed gripped the steering wheel, her voice trembling. Ever since they'd left the convenience store, her boss had been radiating a palpable aura of fury. Her stare could have melted steel. Evelyn had followed her into the car, her heart pounding, and now, with no destination given, she had to ask. Back to the office, Cassandra snapped, her voice laced with a murderous edge. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn flinched, stomping on the accelerator. The car pulled away from the gritty, working-class neighborhood, the scenery outside blurring into streaks of light. Cassandra's eyes remained dark and stormy. Subconsciously, she raised a hand to the mask covering her lips, her gaze growing distant. A slow-burning fire began to smolder within her. The spot where Liam had touched her still seemed to hold his scent, his warmth. She replayed his sudden, bold move, that handsome, ascetic face leaning closer and closer, and felt her own temperature begin to rise. An unnatural flush crept up her neck, hidden beneath the mask. Hiss! She didn't know why, but she was starting to like this feeling. No one had ever made her feel this way, this particular kind of craving. It left her wanting more. Ma'am, should I open a window? To help you stay alert. Evelyn's voice came from the driver's seat. The question shattered Cassandra's reverie, snapping her back to reality. Her eyes instantly turned to ice, her voice dripping with irritation. Just focus on driving. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn didn't dare say another word. She didn't even risk a glance in the rearview mirror. The impatience in her boss's tone was practically leaping out. She hadn't meant to intrude. Cassandra's schedule was brutal, and she often got drowsy during car rides. She had standing orders to open the window to keep her awake. Evelyn was just following protocol, but Cassandra had never snapped at her for it before. Not like this. Evelyn was baffled, but Cassandra, now fully lucid, was shocked. She couldn't understand it. This time, she hadn't been drugged. So why couldn't she control herself? When she was near Liam, he didn't even have to do anything. He could just stand there, and the scent of him alone was enough to ignite the flames inside her. She was hungry. She had been hungry for days. If that meal were in front of her right now, she feared she would lose all control and devour it. It wasn't a matter of desperation. It was a specific hunger for a specific taste. Only one thing could satisfy her. After all this time, she had almost forgotten what it felt like, that sublime experience of consuming the perfect delicacy she craved. Cassandra couldn't stop herself from licking her lips, a flicker of raw hunger in her eyes. But just as quickly, she regained her composure. After all, the longer you starve, the more delicious the food tastes. Like the first sip of an ice-cold beer after a long, grueling day, utterly satisfying. And for a delicacy this exquisite, she wouldn't dream of spoiling the experience. She narrowed her eyes, her gaze falling on Evelyn in the rearview mirror. "I need you to investigate someone," she commanded. "Who is it?" Evelyn asked, her expression puzzled. Cassandra stared into the mirror, enunciating each syllable with cold precision. "Yesita." "Her," Evelyn gasped. "Ma'am, we already looked into her. Jessica is Liam's ex-girlfriend. They've broken up." The initial investigation had focused on Liam. People like Jessica were just footnotes in the file. But now, her boss was asking for a dedicated report on his ex? Had she gone mad? "I want more details," Cassandra said, her voice freezing over. "I want to know everything that happened between them, down to the last word they spoke." Evelyn nodded, too stunned to speak. She couldn't help but hear a bitter, acidic undertone in Cassandra's voice. Could she be worried that Liam might get back together with his ex? Impossible. What man in his right mind would choose a broke ex-girlfriend over Cassandra Thorne? Even setting aside family background and wealth, just on looks alone, it wasn't even a contest. On impulse, Evelyn risked a quick glance in the rearview mirror. She saw Cassandra lost in thought, her expression uncharacteristically vulnerable. Evelyn swallowed hard. This side of her boss was completely at odds with the decisive, ruthless executive she knew. It couldn't be, could it? Her boss. Was she actually falling in love? Back in his small dorm-like room after a long day, Liam checked his bank account. Balance, $12,500. Aside from his daily wages, most of it was the cut he'd taken from training those college kids. It felt a little shady, but the rates he offered were the best in the area. Plus, Brenda always made huge staff meals, so the gig included food and a workout. It was a sweet deal. Lately, even recent graduates have been coming by, asking if he was hiring. Brenda's store, Annie's Corner, was finally on stable ground. He figured that after he left, he could have Leo stay and help her out. Cassandra's vendetta was with him personally. She probably wouldn't bother with Leo, who'd already been fired. He considered taking Brenda's daughter, Annie, on a trip to the city to see the museums, to broaden her horizons. Just then, his phone buzzed with a text from Khloe. "Liam, can you come get me?" It was already past 10 p.m. Why wasn't she home? He frowned and typed back. "You're not home?" "No, I'm at the Gilded Hour bar. I drank a little too much." A second message came through immediately after. "Never mind. Sorry to bother you. You should get some sleep. I'll just get an Uber or something." Reading the two messages, Liam's frown deepened. As much as he wanted to keep his distance from Khloe, he genuinely liked her optimistic, cheerful personality. He saw her as a little sister, and while he knew he should stay away, leaving her alone in a bar this late felt wrong. Besides, her text sounded like something was wrong. A young woman drinking herself into a stupor at a bar was never a safe situation. Now that she'd reached out to him, he couldn't just ignore it. He typed a quick reply. "Stay put. I'm on my way." He sent the message, threw on a jacket, and rushed out the door. At the Gilded Hour bar, Khloe was slumped over the counter, her vision blurry as she stared at her phone. She could just barely make out the words, "I'm on my way." A warmth spread through her chest. Someone was thinking of her. Her heart, which had been beating with a dull, steady rhythm, suddenly began to race. She rubbed her cheeks, a giddy feeling rising inside her, and forced herself to sit up straight. "Another cocktail," she called out to the bartender. "Miss, I think you've had enough," a man's voice said from beside her. It wasn't the bartender. She saw him already mixing her drink. Confused, she turned her head and saw a paunchy, middle-aged man sitting next to her, a man who definitely hadn't been there a moment ago. He wore glasses, and his pudgy face was pockmarked and greasy. A wave of nausea washed over her. "What I drink is none of your damn business," she slurred, glaring at him. The man just smiled, pushing his glasses up his nose. He watched with a predatory gaze as the bartender placed the cocktail on the counter. Then, in one swift motion, he snatched the glass and downed it himself. Khloe's head was spinning, but rage cut through the fog. "That was my drink. What the hell is wrong with you drinking my drink?" The man chuckled and turned to the bewildered bartender. "Sorry about that. My girlfriend is in a bad mood today. I'll cover her tab." "Who's your girlfriend?" Khloe shoved him away and yelled at the bartender. "I don't know this creep." The bartender looked lost. Fights like this happened all the time in bars, and it wasn't his job to intervene, but he had a responsibility to prevent trouble. He was about to ask what was going on when the man smiled again. It's fine. We just had a fight. My name is Zach, and this is my girlfriend, Khloe." He then turned to her with a sickeningly sweet tone. "Khloe, honey, don't make a scene. Let's just go home and talk about it, okay? It took me forever to find you." Khloe couldn't believe her ears. The alcohol-induced haze cleared by a good third. The fact that he knew her name made the bartender back off, figuring they must know each other. He turned away, leaving her alone with this man. Panic seized her. She racked her brain, but couldn't place the name Zach. How did he know who she was? Zach slung an arm around her shoulder, forcefully pulling her to her feet. The alcohol had turned her limbs to jelly. She had no strength to resist. She could only let him haul her up. "Let go of me. I don't know you. Zach, are you insane?" she shouted, struggling weakly. But her feeble punches felt like kitten scratches against his fleshy body, barely making his beer gut jiggle. The scene drew a few glances from nearby patrons, but their posture, him holding her up, looked just like a couple having a spat. Zach even had the audacity to smile apologetically at the onlookers. "Sorry, everyone. My girlfriend had a little too much to drink. We were just arguing." It was a common enough sight in a bar that no one stepped in. Just like that, Khloe was dragged out of the bar. The cool night air hit her face, and her head cleared significantly. Using every ounce of strength she had, she shoved Zach away and staggered against a large pillar by the entrance. "You're sick," she screamed. "Don't touch me, or I'm calling the cops." She looked like a terrified rabbit, small and shaky. Zach just grinned, showing his teeth. "I've been watching you for a while, Miss Ya. You should just come with me quietly." "You psycho." Khloe fumbled for her phone, but after searching her pockets, she realized it was gone. They were in a secluded corner by the bar's entrance. Everyone was inside partying. The doorway was deserted. That's when true fear set in. This was the kind of thing you only saw in movies, and it was happening to her. "Don't worry, Miss Ya," Zach purred, stepping closer. "As long as you're a good girl, I'll buy you anything you want. The Zhao family has plenty of money." He reached for her slender wrist. In the next second, a sharp, male voice cut through the night from behind him. "I'd advise you not to touch her." Khloe, who had been on the verge of despair, froze. When she saw who had arrived, tears of relief streamed down her face. "Liam," she cried out, her voice a mix of slurred speech and overwhelming joy. Zach spun around, cursing. "Who the hell do you think you are, ruining my fun?" When he saw Liam, who stood a full head taller than him, he faltered for a second before pointing a finger at his face. "Get lost if you know what's good for you. Can't you see I'm trying to pick up a girl here? You son of a AHHH." Before he could finish, Liam grabbed his outstretched finger and bent it backward. A sharp, searing pain shot up his arm. The agony was immense. Zach arched back, furious and in pain, but still spitting insults. "Let go of me, you bastard. Do you have any idea who I am?" "Aha!" The more he cursed, the harder Liam twisted. His finger was bent at an unnatural angle, the back of it nearly touching his wrist. Tears streamed down Zach's face. But Liam wasn't finished. He delivered a swift, hard kick directly to Zach's crotch. The tip of his leather shoe connected with a sickening thud. Zach howled in agony. "AGH. Sir, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please, let me go. AGH." Sweat beaded on his forehead as tears and snot ran down his face. Seeing Khloe swaying unsteadily, about to fall, Liam decided he'd wasted enough time on this scum. With a final, violent shove, he threw Zach aside and strode over Khloe. "Let's go. I'll take you home." He gently put an arm around her shoulders to steady her. Still shaken, Khloe felt the familiar, safe touch, and the knot of terror in her stomach finally loosened. Supported by Liam's strength, she felt her head spin, and a blush crept onto her cheeks. She looked down, murmuring, "Okay." Ignoring the whimpering heap that was Zach, Liam helped Khloe to the curb and hailed a cab. Zach watched them leave, his body racked with pain, especially his groin. Gritting his teeth, he pulled out his phone and furiously dialed a number. "Damn it, Red," he snarled into the phone. "Get some guys over to the Gilded Hour now." Inside the taxi, with the windows rolled up, the air grew warm and stuffy. The alcohol, which had momentarily subsided, came rushing back to Khloe's head. Her body went limp, and she slumped sideways, her head coming to rest on Liam's shoulder. The heavy scent of liquor filled the small space. Liam frowned. Just how much had she drunk to get this wasted? For Khloe, the familiar scent of Liam was deeply comforting. With a trusted friend beside her in the warmth of the car, she drifted off to sleep. The taxi sped along the elevated highway, and before long, they arrived at Khloe's apartment complex, the Parkview. Liam paid the driver. Seeing Khloe sleeping so peacefully, he knew it would be impossible to wake her. He sighed, resigning himself to his fate, and scooped her into his arms. But the moment he lifted her, an image of Cassandra Thorne flashed in his mind, her voice echoing like a curse. "Did I give you permission to touch another woman?" Liam's hands trembled involuntarily. Then he felt a surge of ridiculous anger. Wasn't his goal a life of peace and quiet? Why was he having such a visceral reaction to her words? She told him not to, so he was just supposed to obey? What a joke. His expression hardened. He tightened his grip on Khloe and walked into the building. She wasn't heavy, maybe 100 pounds at most. For someone who worked out regularly, carrying her was easy, though her bony frame dug into him uncomfortably. Soon, he was standing in front of her apartment door. He couldn't find a key in her purse and didn't want to take advantage of the situation by searching her pockets. He tried to gently wake her. "Khloe." In his arms, she shifted restlessly, her lips forming a small pout as if her pleasant dream had been disturbed. He couldn't just stand in the hallway all night. He sighed and tried again, a little louder this time. "Khloe, wake up. We're home. Where's your key?" Khloe mumbled something, her eyes fluttering open blearily. She pointed a finger toward her pants pocket. Pocket? Ugh. So he had to get it himself, after all. The problem was, both of his hands were occupied. How was he supposed to get the key? "Khloe, can you get it yourself?" he said, exasperated. "I don't have a free hand, and it's not appropriate." Khloe blinked slowly, her eyes still hazy. She managed to fish a single key out of her pocket. Liam used the hand supporting her legs to take it, and, with some difficulty, managed to unlock the door. Finally, he hurried inside and gently laid Khloe down on her bed. But before he could even straighten up, her arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him down with surprising strength. Any further, and he'd be lying on top of her. "Khloe, you need a rest," he said quickly. "I have to go." She murmured, her consciousness drifting back, though not fully. "No, I don't want you to. Sleep with me." Liam froze. First, he wasn't the kind of person to take advantage of someone. Second, he had absolutely no romantic feelings for Khloe. She was just a little sister to him. If this continued, things are going to get complicated. He quickly came up with an excuse. "You left the front door open. I'm going to go lock it." He tried to pull away, but his sudden movement seemed to jolt Khloe fully awake. She sat up, her head still spinning, and grabbed his sleeve with a death grip. "I'll go with you." It was as if she was terrified he'd run away. Liam sighed. "You should rest. We can talk about whatever's on your mind tomorrow, after you've sobered up." "No." Khloe shook her head vehemently, like a child's rattle. She stared at him with wide, pleading eyes. "No, Liam. I'm going with you. You have to stay and keep me company tonight." Liam was speechless. "What?" As if a dam had broken, fueled by alcohol and raw emotion, Khloe's eyes welled up with tears. The words came spilling out in a torrent of misery. "Liam, at the company, I only really knew you and Leo. But after Leo left, I could never find you. You barely answer my texts. And lately, my boss has been on a warpath, giving me all the worst jobs, all the dirty work. This afternoon, he made me clean the bathrooms." Khloe clung to him, her voice thick with misery. Liam froze. He didn't need a detective to figure out who was behind this. It had Cassandra Thorne's name written all over it. He couldn't believe it. Even after Leo was fired, she was still tormenting Khloe. His hands clenched into fists as Khloe's rambling continued. "Liam, maybe I should just quit too. Take me with you. Don't just leave with Leo." She was barely coherent, her words jumbled. "Don't," Liam said firmly. "Didn't you say your family pulled a lot of strings to get you this job? It wouldn't be right to just quit." Khloe swayed, her head lolling. The word family seemed to trigger something. She looked down, frantically patting her pockets for her phone. After a moment of fruitless searching, panic flashed across her face. "Oh no." As if shocked sober, she looked up at him. "Liam, I think I left my phone at the bar." Liam paused. "Okay, you rest. I'll go get it. I'm coming with you." Khloe insisted, trying to get up, still holding on to him. She was in no condition to go anywhere. He'd just have to bring her back again. With a firm hand, he pushed her back down and pulled the blanket over her. "You wait here. I'll get it. Stop making a scene." His tone was harsher than he intended. Khloe, startled, immediately pulled the covers up to her chin, looking small and scared. Liam sighed. He didn't have time to explain. He grabbed her key from the nightstand, left the apartment, and locked the door from the outside. He hailed another cab and went back to the Gilded Hour. It was past 11 now, and the bar was packed. He went to the counter and asked a bartender, who confirmed they had found a phone. Liam thanked him, took the phone, and was heading out when it vibrated in his hand. He assumed it was a call and was about to silence it. It wasn't his place to snoop, but when he glanced at the screen, he froze. It was a calendar reminder for the next day. Happy B-Day to my dumb older brother who disappeared. You're 25 now. P.S. Don't forget to ask for the day off to come home. 25 years old. Liam's heart skipped a beat. The number was too specific. He was also turning 25 this year. His eyelid twitched. Could it really be such a coincidence? His earliest memories were from the orphanage. Anything before that was a blur. He only remembered a couple handing him over to a middle-aged man. After that, nothing. Somehow, this didn't feel like a coincidence. His heart pounded in his chest. He wouldn't be having such a strong, gut-wrenching reaction for no reason. Maybe I should get a DNA test. The thought shot through his mind. All this speculation was useless and just making him anxious. A test would give him an answer. Liam clutched the phone, stopped at a 24-hour convenience store to buy a small plastic bag, and took a cab back to Khloe's place. She was fast asleep. He placed her phone on the pillow beside her and, without hesitating, carefully plucked a few strands of her hair, sealing them in a plastic bag. He'd send it for testing tomorrow. With that decided, he tucked the bag into his pocket and left. But as he reached the ground floor, he saw a group of more than a dozen burly men walking toward him. The man in the lead had a shock of red hair, a cigarette dangling from his lips, and a thuggish smirk on his face. Liam frowned. You the punk who hit our boss, mister. Zhao. Red sneered, stepping forward. He spat the cigarette, but onto the ground and crushed it under his shoe. Mister. Zhao. It had to be the guy who was harassing Khloe. Liam narrowed his eyes, mentally calculating his odds in a fight. Seeing him stay silent, Red's temper flared. Hey, asshole, I'm talking to you. A dozen guys should be manageable. But if they were able to find this place, it meant Zach had resources. He'd inevitably come back to bother Khloe. Liam thought about how she was already being tormented at work because of him. He felt a pang of guilt. Maybe he could solve this problem for her, and then they'd be even. Liam looked up. Yeah, he said calmly. That was me. Red was clearly not expecting such a straightforward admission. He laughed. All right, got some balls. Come with us quietly, and maybe my boys won't have to get rough. That suited Liam just fine. What was the point of beating up a few grunts? If you want to solve a problem, you go straight to the source. Liam nodded. Fine. Lead the way. Red, who had been gearing up to order his men to attack, was momentarily speechless. Question mark. This was going too smoothly. His carefully orchestrated intimidation was falling flat. He pointed a thumb uncertainly toward a black van parked nearby. Get in the car, then. Okay, Liam said. And just like that, in front of a dozen men armed with bats, he opened the rear door and got in. Red stood there, bewildered. Boss, one of the thugs behind him whispered, I thought you said this was going to be a tough fight. Shut up, you moron. Red snapped, rolling his eyes. This whole block is covered in security cameras. Are you an idiot? His original plan was to intimidate Liam, and if that failed, drag him into an alley and throw a sack over his head. But the guy just got in the car himself. This area was full of corporate types. He didn't want to cause a scene. All right, get in, he barked. Mr. Zhao is waiting. The men quickly piled into their vehicles. Red, his face grim, got in the front passenger seat of Liam's van. He turned around, a malicious grin spreading across his face. Buddy, we can't have you going like this. Liam looked at him, confused. What do you mean? Your hands. They're a little too free. We gotta tie them up. Red held up a rope he'd prepared, his expression clearly saying, if you don't comply, my boys will make you. To his utter shock, Liam simply held out his hands. Fine, he said calmly. Tie them. Red was completely thrown. This was just too weird. In all his years on the battlefield, Red had never met someone so compliant. He jabbed a finger at the two thugs sitting on either side of Liam. What are you two waiting for? An invitation? Get it done. The two men quickly took the rope and clumsily tied Liam's hands, finishing with a sloppy, unprofessional knot. Liam glanced at the rope on his wrists and scoffed internally. Cassandra's handcuffs were more secure than this. Wait, why am I thinking about that crazy woman again? He felt a flash of irritation. He was supposed to hate her, but for some reason, her words and actions kept replaying in his mind. Was it possible he was actually developing feelings for her? Hiss. Liam drew a sharp breath. What a joke. He wasn't a masochist. The woman was a lunatic. How could he possibly like someone like her? Hating his own thoughts, Liam gritted his teeth and glared out the side window. Open a window, he snarled. I need some air. The driver, who had been cruising along peacefully, was so startled by the sudden command that he nearly swerved into a tree. He yanked the wheel back just in time. The voice was so full of contained violence that Red, sitting in the passenger seat, felt a chill run down his spine as if his skull was about to be caved in. He instinctively touched the back of his head and quickly ordered, Open it for him. The men on either side of Liam scrambled to lower the windows. A rush of cool night air filled the car. Liam took a deep breath, his roiling emotions finally settling. The van sped down the highway, and in half an hour, it pulled into a luxurious gated community. Liam glanced at the sign at the entrance and raised an eyebrow. Southgate Estates? He remembered this place. The residents here were all high-earning elites, pulling in 6 or even 7 figures a year. He'd come here for business meetings back in his Hamilton Industries days. He hadn't expected this Zach character to have this much clout. The van stopped in front of Villa 6. Red got out first, and Liam followed without hesitation. Red led the way, and they all entered the house. The first thing Liam saw was Zach, sprawled on the sofa, wincing in pain while a maid knelt beside him, gingerly applying some ointment. What a diva, Liam thought with a smirk, stopping at the doorway. Boss, we brought him, Red announced, his voice oozing with a sycophantic, credit-seeking tone. At the sound of his voice, Zach looked up. The moment he saw Liam standing in the doorway, his face contorted with rage. Forgetting his injuries, he leaped to his feet and charged. You son of a bitch. You ruined my night. I'm going to kill you. Zach raised his hand to slap Liam across the face. Liam took a single step back. Zach's palm connected squarely with the face of the thug standing next to him. Smack! The sound echoed through the room. The thug stared, wide-eyed and stunned, clutching his cheek. Boss, why'd you hit me? Zach was just as stunned. He'd seen Liam's hands tied. He had 2 of his guys flanking him. The slap should have landed perfectly. But now, you 2 idiots, he screamed. Why didn't you hold him down? Before he could react, the 2 thugs beside Liam slumped to the floor. In the next instant, Liam's voice rang out, cool and menacing. If you don't know how to use rope, don't bother. Your knot-tying skills are pathetic. He flexed his wrists, looking at Zach with a calm expression. But Zach saw the same brutal intensity in his eyes as when Liam had been beating him earlier. He instinctively covered his crotch, pointing a trembling finger at Liam. Red, is this how you handle things? Red was panicking too. How could he have known the guy would escape from being tied up? No wonder he'd been so cooperative. He was saving his energy for the main event. Men, Red bellowed. Protect Mr. Zhao. Liam wasn't about to give them a chance. He lunged forward, looped the discarded rope around Zach's neck, and pulled tight. Zach's face immediately began to turn blue. The dozen thugs who rushed in from outside froze at the sight. Zach's face grew darker, his eyes bulging with pain and helplessness. Red was frantic. You bastard! Let go of our boss! Zach clawed at the rope around his neck, a desperate, choking feeling overwhelming him. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. The fear of death finally broke him. He waved his hands frantically, signaling his men to stay back. Liam's voice was chillingly calm. Can we talk now? The sound was like a death sentence whispered in his ear. Zach used every ounce of his remaining strength to nod vigorously. Liam loosened his grip slightly. The next second, Red saw his chance. Brothers, get him. Save the boss, he yelled. The thugs surged forward. Liam just rolled his eyes. He knew this would happen. He released the rope, delivered a swift kick to Zach's rear that sent him sprawling to the floor, and turned to face the onslaught. He moved through them like a phantom, a blur of fists and feet. These guys were scum, so Liam didn't hold back, using every dirty trick in the book. He threw chairs, smashed tea sets, and kicked over tables. The pristine villa living room, now containing 15 men including Liam and Red, descended into utter chaos. The floor was a minefield of broken glass and ceramic shards. In less than 10 minutes, it was over. Men were groaning on the floor, clutching their groins, their chests, unable to stand. Liam touched a small cut on his cheek, glanced at the smear of blood on his fingers, and licked his lips as if savoring a fine meal. He strode over to the stunned, cowering Zach, pulled over the only small stool that had survived the brawl, and sat down. He looked up. So he asked, "Can we have a proper chat now?" Zach was completely numb. He had no idea he'd provoked such a monster. This guy had to be ex-military, right? He nodded frantically, his face a mask of fawning terror. Yes, of course. Then he turned to the maid, who was frozen in shock by the carnage. What are you staring at? Go get this gentleman some tea. Ma'am, Liam was abducted. It was late at night. Cassandra, just about to get into bed, glanced at the text from Evelyn. Her eyes narrowed. Who? Cassandra's long fingers tapped out the reply. A second later, Evelyn's message came through. Zach Zhao, his father, is the CEO of Zhao Construction. Another message followed. The security guard at the Parkview apartment saw a dozen men go into the building and thought it looked suspicious, so he reported it to the area's corporate security network. The Parkview apartments? Cassandra frowned. Wasn't that where Khloe lived? She glanced at the time. 12:30 a.m. How interesting. A cruel smile touched Cassandra's lips, her eyes flashing with a dangerous light. She had warned him only a few hours ago, and he was already so restless that he had to run off to Khloe's house in the middle of the night. Excellent. This man was systematically dancing on every single one of her nerves. Evelyn waited for a reply, growing anxious. She quickly sent another message. Ma'am, there were over a dozen men. The security footage shows Liam getting into their car. I'm afraid. She was genuinely worried. After all, Liam was a hot commodity right now. Evelyn wasn't stupid. She had seen her boss's unusual behavior over the past few days and knew she had developed a special interest in this man. Cassandra had never acted this way about anyone before. If something happened to Liam now, Evelyn knew she'd have to endure months of her boss's foul mood. Reading the message, Cassandra let out a cold laugh. A joke. The man had taken down her family's elite bodyguards while handcuffed. Was he supposed to be afraid of this? Still, a dozen men was a lot. If Liam got hurt, it would be unsatisfying. Cassandra's eyes narrowed as she typed. Send a few people. Don't reveal yourselves. Just ensure his safety. The meaning was implicit. Evelyn understood immediately. She opened her contacts and made a call. Zhang, get a few of your best men over to the Zhao residence. Stay hidden. Keep an eye on Liam. Make sure not a hair on his head is harmed. At Villa 6 in Southgate Estates, Liam was sitting like a king. A small table had been placed next to him. He took a sip of tea and looked at Zach with a cold smile. Zach was now pressed against the wall, so scared he could barely breathe. He looked at Liam, his voice trembling. Sir, what did you want to talk about? Anything you want. Liam smiled and put down his cup. The kneeling maid immediately rushed to refill it. Nice service, he thought. He didn't take another drink, instead looking at Zach with a friendly smile. I was just wondering, how did you find Khloe's address? I don't know it, Zach wailed. That building has tight security. I don't have access to their systems. Oh, Liam's eyes narrowed. He picked up the teacup from the table and smashed it on the floor. Crash! The sound echoed through the room. The maid flinched and sank to the floor, head down, trembling. Zach was so terrified he wet himself, pleading for his life. Mercy, sir. I'm not lying. That area is full of big corporate housing. Even if I wanted to investigate, it would take days. Seeing his pale, terrified face, Liam figured he was telling the truth. Then how did you find me here tonight? Liam continued. Fearing another beating, Zach curled into a ball. I memorized your taxi's license plate and asked around in a driver's group chat. He sobbed. Sir, I'll never do it again. Please, just spare me. For such a large man, he was crying like a child. Liam pursed his lips. As long as Zach didn't know Khloe's specific address, that was good enough. Zenith Corp owned a lot of property in that area. As Zach said, he wouldn't dare cause trouble there. Liam rolled his neck, stood up, and said coolly, I'm warning you. If you ever bother Khloe again, it won't be as simple as it was today. Yes. I'll never do it again, I swear. Zach nodded his head so fast it looked like it would fall off. Liam snorted, shot him one last dismissive glance, and walked out of the villa. As soon as he was sure Liam was gone, Zach's rage erupted. Red, you useless piece of shit. You can't even tie a man up properly. Red, who had been playing dead on the floor, crawled over, crying. Boss, it was a misunderstanding. I swear I had no idea he could get out of it. Useless, Zach roared, then commanded through gritted teeth, find out who he is. Anyone who dares to hit me will pay. If he couldn't get Khloe, he would get Liam. Yes. Red nodded, struggling to his feet and shaking his men awake. Zach's face was purple with rage. He saw the maid still sitting there, dumbstruck, and his anger found new target. What are you staring at? Give me a clean pair of pants. Liam had just reached the gates of Southgate Estates when he saw a white car pull in. He didn't pay it any mind and moved aside, but the car stopped directly in front of him. The window rolled down, and Liam was surprised to see the driver. Carl Sawyer. Liam? What a coincidence, Carl said, looking surprised. Liam smiled. Just taking care of some business. Carl nodded. Then his expression turned sympathetic. Hey, Liam, I heard about everything with your family. Are you, doing okay? The concern seemed genuine. They're not my family anymore, Liam said, his tone as casual as if he were discussing the weather. But thanks for asking, Carl. Carl gave him a knowing look and wisely changed the subject. Honestly, I always said Hamilton Industries would be nothing without you. I had a meeting with that son of theirs, Jason, the other day. The guy has the posture of a wet noodle and the business sense of a rock. I don't know what they're thinking over there. Liam didn't expect Carl to be so candid, but he had no desire to rehash the Hamilton saga. Let's not talk about them. How's your company doing? It's getting by. We made a decent profit off that contract we signed when you were still around, Carl said with a sigh. But times are tough. The orders in my factory are dropping every quarter. Factory? It hit Liam then. Carl owned a food processing plant. A few years ago, with the boom in snack foods and bubble tea, Liam, who was heading up logistic for Hamilton, had signed a major contract with him. It had been a huge win for both of them. An idea sparked in Liam's mind. Carl, is your factory hiring? I could use a side gig to make some extra cash. Carl stared at him. Huh. Then, a look of disbelief crossed his face. You want to work in a factory? Yeah. Liam nodded. He remembered Carl's factory was on the outskirts of Boston. It was the perfect place to lie low. Even if Cassandra wanted to find him, it would take her some time to get there, unless she took a helicopter. But Liam figured she wouldn't be that ostentatious. After all, she wore a mask at the convenience store to avoid being recognized. Carl looked Liam up and down, still trying to process it. A factory isn't as liberating as starting your own business, man. With your skills, you can make a comeback in no time. You have no idea how many people were asking about you at the last CEO mixer. He couldn't wrap his head around it. A man with Liam's vision and talent was a hot commodity anywhere. Carl himself had spent days trying to track Liam down to offer him a job. And now he was saying he wanted to work on an assembly line? No. Liam waved his hand dismissively. I've decided I'm done with the business world. The backstabbing and politics. It's too exhausting. He was telling the truth. That had been his plan from the beginning. Except now there's a new obstacle. Cassandra Thorne. If she found out he was starting another business, there was no telling what kind of twisted game she'd play to torture him. The Thorne family's power was absolute. With a flick of her wrist, she could ruin him. The money he had now was all he'd managed to save. He couldn't afford to lose it. He'd be homeless. Carl looked at him deeply, then nodded with understanding. I get it. This world is exhausting. The endless schmoozing alone is killing my liver. He pulled out his phone. All right, my friend, how about this? Come to my factory. I'll make a spot for you as a manager. It's an easy gig. And if you ever want to start your own thing again, we can talk. No. Thanks, Liam said quickly. The assembly line is fine. I have some savings. I don't plan on working there for long. Carl paused. He was right. A talent like Liam wouldn't stay in a factory forever. He nodded. Okay, just tell me when, and I'll let the plant manager know. Great. Liam nodded, holding up his phone. I'll message you once I get my affairs in order. Sounds good. Carl waved. I'll head in then. See you around, brother. See you. Liam watched Carl's car drive into the complex before heading out himself. He hailed a cab back to his room. The night's exertions had drained him completely. He collapsed on his bed and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Ma'am, he's fine. He walked out on his own, but Zhang said he got a cut on his face. In the study at Black Lake Manor, Evelyn was reporting to Cassandra via video call. At the first half of the sentence, a small smile had played on Cassandra's lips, but the second half, her eyes turned to ice. He's scarred? She asked, her voice dangerously low. Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. No, not at all. Zhang said it was just a minor cut. With proper care, it won't leave a scar. That's not good enough. Cassandra's voice was sharp, a rare command fired in anger. You will go to him now and treat that wound. If it leaves so much as a single mark, I will hold you personally responsible. Evelyn was stunned. Now, it's the middle of the night. She had to go to a man's apartment in the middle of the night to dress a wound? A shabby rental in an old, rundown neighborhood? The words caught in her throat. She stared at the screen, speechless. Seeing Evelyn's dazed expression, Cassandra's fury ignited. What are you waiting for? Go, she snapped. Yes. Evelyn nodded frantically and quickly ended the call. Even through the screen, she could feel the heat of her boss's rage. She shivered, threw on a coat, grabbed her medical kit, and rushed out the door. Staring at the blank monitor, Cassandra's eyes were filled with a vicious light. How dare they harm what is mine? No one in this world is allowed to touch Liam Thorne. Except me. Her fingers flew across her phone screen as she sent a message to Haley Liu. Starting tomorrow, I don't want to hear the name Zhao in New York again. A moment later, Haley's reply came. Understood. Cassandra's eyes narrowed, her thumbs stroking the smooth glass of her phone. Now, she had to decide how to deal with that insolent Jessica. Oh my God, people actually live here. Stepping out of the car, Evelyn looked at the dark, dilapidated apartment building, her hand trembling as she held her medical kit. Her exclamation triggered a motion sensor light in the hallway, which flickered on with a sickly yellow glow, startling her. She had to be kidding. That man had the option of living in a luxury villa, and he chose this dump? She couldn't even walk in her heels here, but an order was an order. Evelyn took a deep breath to compose herself and immediately inhaled a lungful of dust, sending her into a coughing fit. Cough, cough, cough. The lights on the second, third, and fourth floors flickered on in sequence. Evelyn seethed. If it weren't for a direct command from Cassandra, she wouldn't be caught dead in a place like this. Covering her mouth and nose, she shot a disgusted look at the jumble of old bikes in the hallway and carefully picked her way up the stairs in her high heels. She was already in a foul mood. When she saw that Liam's door was a cheap wooden one, she didn't hold back. She kicked it hard. Bang! The simple bolt lock shattered. Peering inside, the look of disgust on her face intensified. But the image of her boss's terrifying glare flashed in her mind, and she resignedly stepped inside. Liam was sound asleep. The fight earlier had completely exhausted him. Evelyn marched over to his bed, gritting her teeth. She scanned the tiny room. There wasn't even a clean surface to put down her precious medical kit. She closed her eyes, took another deep breath, and slapped Liam hard on the back with her free hand. "Hey, wake up. Time for your medicine." The harsh shout startled Liam awake. He turned around blearily and saw Evelyn, dressed in a white coat, standing over his bed. He jolted upright. "Whoa." He blinked, trying to clear his head. "What are you doing here?" Evelyn's pretty face was contorted with anger. "Ms. Thorne sent me to treat your wound." She slammed her medical kit down on the only relatively clean surface in the room, his blanket. "Now, hurry up and turn your face this way." Liam's mouth twitched, a figure in white bursting into his room in the middle of the night. For a second, he thought he was seeing a ghost. He reached up and pulled the string for the overhead light. As the dim yellow bulb flickered on, he heard Evelyn mutter, "My phone's flashlight is brighter than this." He glanced at her and leaned back against the peeling headboard. "What do you expect?" he said languidly. "You're a Ms. who only uses brand names. How could a guy like me compare?" Evelyn rolled her eyes. "You talk too much," she snapped, opening her medical kit. Liam just shrugged, tilting his head back. Evelyn worked with professional efficiency, snapping open a glass ampoule and drawing the liquid into a syringe. Seeing this, Liam raised an eyebrow. "It's a surface wound. You're giving me a shot." "Shut up. It's a special anti-inflammatory," she retorted. After giving him the injection, she opened a small bottle and sprinkled some medicinal powder onto a gauze pad. She held it up, frowning at him. "Can you lean forward?" "What? You want me to climb on top of you?" Her mood, already soured by the late-night trip to this dump, worsened with every second she spent with him. A free doctor. Might as well take advantage of it. Liam tilted his face forward. Evelyn narrowed her eyes and pressed the medicated gauze firmly onto the cut. Just like last time, Liam didn't even flinch. Her gaze drifted down to his neck, and she gasped. "Who did that to you?" she shrieked. Liam knew what she was looking at. An image of that psycho, Cassandra, flashed in his mind. He pursed his lips. "A dog! A dog!" Evelyn cried out. She was a medical professional. She knew the difference between an animal bite and that. Her voice was laced with panic. "Don't joke around. Tell me who did this." "Who else could it be?" Liam's eyes darkened. He said nothing more. It was ridiculous. It was her own boss who did it. Did she really need him to spell out? How humiliating would that be for him? Evelyn was now in a full-blown panic. Given how obsessed her boss was with Liam, if she found out he'd been. Hiss! She quickly secured the gauze on his face with 2 strips of tape, then wrapped it with a bandage, her voice urgent. "You need to take care of this. It should fade in a few days. I'll leave you some extra bandages. Make sure you change them." And she looked him straight in the eye, her expression deadly serious. "Do not let anyone see it, or you'll die a horrible death." Huh? Liam was confused. What was the big deal? As long as he didn't say anything, who would know it was Cassandra? He shrugged nonchalantly. "What's there to be afraid of?" "You." Evelyn was seething. She slammed her medical kit shut. "Fine. Why should I care? Respect his choices. Let go of the need to help." She had warned him, but if he was going to be this clueless, then so be it. She grabbed her kit and stormed out. Liam stared at his broken door. He'd have to remember to pay the landlord for repairs when he moved out. He got up and wedged a stool under the doorknob. Back in bed, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. He wasn't surprised that Evelyn had found him. But why would Cassandra go to the trouble of sending someone to treat his wound? It felt like a wolf bringing a gift to a sheep. She was up to no good. He recalled the torment he'd endured at the manor and gritted his teeth in hatred. He had to get out of here. Fast. With that thought, he drifted back to sleep. The next morning, Liam took Khloe's hair sample to a city hospital. After submitting the samples at the forensics lab and paying an extra fee for an expedited result, he left. With modern technology, the DNA results would be ready in 5 days, sent directly to his phone, with a hard copy mailed to an address of his choice. It saved him a lot of trouble. Afterward, he went back to Annie's corner and told Brenda he was leaving. She was sad to see him go, but had known from the start that a young man like him wouldn't stay forever. Still, his presence had changed her life for the better. Before he left, she transferred $3,000 to his account and made him promise to visit. Liam, and used to such genuine kindness, felt a warmth spread through his chest. Leo, who was stocking shelves, also heard the news. But he had settled in nicely at the store, becoming a regular fixture and getting along well with Brenda and Annie. His life was more peaceful and fulfilling than it had ever been as a security guard, so he decided to stay. Brenda needed the help, and Liam didn't push it. He simply transferred ownership of the student training group chats to Leo, sent a text to Carl Sawyer, and boarded a bus to Boston. "Mom, Dad, you were fired?" At the Fong residence, Jessica was in the middle of her makeup routine when her parents, Karen and Frank, walked in, looking utterly dejected. Karen's face was pale. She stood in the entryway, silent and lost. "I don't know what happened," Frank finally mumbled. "The company just suddenly announced layoffs." Jessica shot to her feet. "What about the contract? There has to be a severance package for a sudden termination. It's no use. They said our performance was poor. Even if we sue, the mortgage payment is due next month." Karen explained, her face ashen. "So what about my allowance this month?" Jessica cried. "Mom, Dad, if you don't have jobs, what am I supposed to do?" They never imagined that their daughter, whom they had supported for years, would first think of her own allowance upon hearing they'd lost their jobs. Frank's anger flared. "Jessica, you're 24 years old. You have your whole life ahead of you. Are you going to sit around and expect us to support you forever?" Stop. Karen stepped between them, pulling Frank back. She turned to Jessica, her face pale. "Honey, our family's going through a rough patch. For your spending money this month, you'll have to ask Liam for some. We'll pay him back when things get better." "Liam," Jessica shrieked. "Yes," Karen said urgently. "Aren't you and Liam still close?" She grabbed her daughter's arm, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You can tell him about our situation. Then I'll play the bad cop and demand a bigger down payment for the house from him." Jessica's eyes went wide. The image of Liam and the masked woman acting intimately in the convenience store flooded her mind. She felt a wave of humiliation and grief. "Mom, you don't understand anything," she sobbed. "Liam and I broke up. He moved on immediately. He already has a new girlfriend." "What did you say?" "He moved on." Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. "Yes, that cheating bastard and his new slut. They made me look like the other woman. How could you even suggest I go crawling back to him?" Jessica was furious. They had humiliated her in public like that. How could she not feel wronged? Before Karen could respond, her precious daughter ran, crying to her bedroom. Karen's anger boiled over. "That Liam, he always seemed like such a nice boy. I can't believe he'd do something like this." She spun around to see Frank squatting by the door, smoking. She marched over, snatched the cigarette from his hand, and threw it on the ground. "What is wrong with you? Our daughter has been humiliated like this, and you're just sitting there smoking." Frank watched his last good smoke get stomped out and scrambled to pick up the butt. He blew on it sadly. "What's my smoking got to do with anything?" Karen, already on edge from being fired, flew into a rage. She smacked him on the back. "Look at you. What kind of father are you? Someone has made our daughter the other woman, and you're just sitting here making sarcastic remarks." All right. Frank took a deep drag, his expression turning serious. "Is this really the time to worry about whether she's the other woman or not? We didn't get paid this month. I have $3,000 to my name. Tell me, how are we going to make the mortgage payment?" His words were a bucket of cold water, extinguishing Karen's fiery anger. "We'll get it from Liam," she said, her jaw tight. "He was with our daughter for years. Now that he's cheated, the least he can do is give us some compensation." "I like it," Frank nodded, reluctantly holding onto his cigarette, "but that kid may have been fired by the Hamiltons, but a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. He's definitely got money. So where do we find him?" "First, we'll ask Justin. If that doesn't work, I'll find him myself," Frank said, pulling out his phone. A few seconds into the call, Karen heard Frank gasp. "What? You said Liam was driving a Rolls-Royce?" Karen rushed over and yelled into the phone. "Son, are you serious? He can afford a Rolls-Royce." "I swear it's true. I couldn't find him at the convenience store, though. I don't know where he went." Justin's voice came through the speaker. Karen snatched the phone. "Son, ask your friend for help. Find your brother-in-law, quickly. Tell him we want to treat him to dinner." She hung up, her face flushed with excitement. She turned to her husband. "Quick, honey, you start looking too. I'll call my old colleagues." Frank was just as thrilled. A Rolls-Royce. He wouldn't have to worry about buying cigarettes anymore. "I'm on it." He nodded, grabbed his phone, and went into the dining room. He lit his last cigarette and tossed the empty pack in the trash without a second thought. Karen was ecstatic. She knew she had picked a winner. Her son-in-law was a true diamond in the rough. So what if there was another woman? If Liam said the word, she'd drag her daughter over to serve as the woman's maid during her pregnancy, if she had to. Hello, my name is Quinn. You must be the new guy, Mr. Sawyer mentioned. That's me. Liam nodded and smiled back. Just tell me where you need someone. I can start right away. No. Quinn waved his hands frantically. Are you kidding? This was the man Mr. Sawyer had personally sent over. He couldn't possibly put him on the assembly line. Our packaging division is short a deputy manager. I'll get you set up there right now. Quinn pulled out his phone to make the arrangements. Liam quickly stopped him. No, really, the assembly line is fine. Quinn paused, looking at Liam in surprise. You want to work on the line? Yes. I probably won't be here for very long, Liam said. He had no idea if that crazy woman Cassandra would find him here. More importantly, she had given him 3 days. If she really destroyed Annie's corner after 3 days, he would have no choice but to go back and settle things. Quinn's mouth twitched. He sized Liam up. This had to be one of Mr. Sawyer's rich friends, here to experience real life. Even if Liam insisted, Quinn couldn't actually let him work on the line. What if he got tired or hurt? Quinn would be out of job. How about this? Quinn said quickly. You have a great look. We have a promotional event going on, a live stream of our production line. We could put you in that section. A live stream? Liam's eyes lit up. Cassandra could easily find out he was in Boston, but he was worried she might not even bother looking for him the next 3 days and just wait for him to show up at the manor. If he was in front of a camera, she would see he had run off to Boston. She probably wouldn't bother with the convenience store then. It was a brilliant idea. Liam nodded eagerly. Sure, no problem. Quinn breathed a sigh of relief and led Liam to his new workstation. From a distance, Liam could see a young man with bleached blonde hair lounging a chair by a conveyor belt, rocking back and forth lazily. This assembly line has some cushy jobs, Liam thought, an amused smile on his face. As they approached, the blonde man, Kyle, jumped to his feet. Mr. Quinn, what brings you here? Quinn glanced at him dismissively. Kyle, from now on, you're on the line. What? Kyle squawked. But Mr. Quinn, you said I was the most photogenic guy in the factory. His gaze drifted past Quinn to Liam, and he fell silent. All right, get to work. Stop holding things up, Quinn barked, pulling the chair out. He turned to Liam with a wide grin. Here you go. You'll sit here. The live stream will start when the shift begins. You just have to be on camera. I don't do any work. Liam asked, confused. Of course you do. Quinn grabbed a handful of loose straws from a nearby bin. Here, you put the straws in the snack boxes. Liam stared at the straws. Fine. Dealing with Cassandra is the priority. He sat down in the chair. Before long, the machinery rumbled to life. A few workers further down the line began placing finished snack boxes onto the conveyor belt. The live stream was officially on. Viewers started trickling in. Ramen Lover _22. Wow, the new guy today is kinda hot. Cat Lady _4 life. Sent a heart get rich or die trying. OMG, they got a new factory boy. Keyboard Warrior. See? Even guys this good looking end up in a factory. Take the hint, losers. Pro _procrastinator. Don't bother looking, ladies. See the hickey? He's taken. Bougie Auntie. Oh, honey, you don't get it. That's what makes it exciting. / lipstick _kiss Bougie Annie sent a Porsche. The Sawyer Snacks live stream, which usually had a modest audience, suddenly exploded. The female viewers, captivated by Liam's sharp features and intense gaze, began sharing the link like crazy. The viewer count shot from a few hundred to several thousand and was still climbing. Liam was completely oblivious. He was focused on counting straws, making sure no box was missing one. He didn't even glance at the phone, streaming his face to the world just a few feet away. Evelyn, finally enjoying a rare moment of peace, was mindlessly scrolling through TikTok videos. Her thumb slipped, and she accidentally swiped into a live stream filled with the droning sound of machinery at a factory. Her lip curled in disgust. How did her expensive phone's algorithm even show her this garbage? She was about to swipe away when she noticed a familiar face in the stream. She tapped the screen, zoomed in, and felt her blood run cold. Liam. She saw the faint purple mark on his neck, the hickey, and shot up from her chair. Did he have any idea what would happen if Cassandra saw this? The man had a death wish. Evelyn could already picture Liam's gruesome fate. Just then, her phone rang. The caller ID read, Ms. Thorne. A shiver went down her spine. It's over. She's seen it. Liam, oh Liam, you've really done it this time. Good luck. She answered the phone with a sense of dread. Ma'am, why is he in Boston? Cassandra's voice was laced with a fury, so intense Evelyn felt it could travel through the phone and crush her skull. She couldn't help but shudder. He had brought this on himself. She couldn't say she hadn't warned him. "Ma'am," she stammered, "do you need me to dispatch a team to bring him back?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Cassandra spoke again, her voice low and cold. "No. You know what to do." "Huh?" Evelyn was stunned. "What to do? How am I supposed to know?" The man was publicly flaunting a mark from another woman, and her boss was saying to leave him be? Wait, could that mark be from her? Hiss. Evelyn sucked in a breath. And Liam had said it was a dog. Good Lord, what kind of kinky games were they playing? She shook her head. It was best not to pry into her boss's private life. But what did Cassandra's order mean? For the first time in her life, Evelyn was completely lost. She had grown up with Cassandra and could usually read her intentions from a single glance. But this? She had no idea. Evelyn took a deep breath. "Ma'am," she said nervously, I don't understand." Cassandra's anger seemed to have dissipated, replaced by a tone of dark amusement. "It's just like last time," she explained patiently. "Place a large order. But this time, no new hires." The line went dead. Evelyn stared at her phone, dumbfounded. Another collaboration? No, that didn't make sense. The other party was just a factory. A brand collaboration would be useless. Cassandra's plan must be to bury them under an impossible order. She took a deep breath, picked up her phone, and dialed Haley Liu. After the switch, the Sawyer Snacks livestream was an unexpected success. The chat was flooded with female fans and, more surprisingly, wealthy women who showered the screen with virtual gifts, all trying to get Liam's contact information. But the livestream was just a marketing gimmick, and no one was actually managing it. At the end of his shift, Liam clocked out and left. Time flew by. The next day, Liam was surprised to see Carl Sawyer himself at the factory when he arrived for his shift. Carl was pointing a finger at Quinn, screaming at him. "What are you thinking? Don't you read a contract before you sign it? What the hell did you do? This is a year's worth of product. We only have a handful of people here. How are we supposed to produce this much in 1 week?" Quinn looked utterly miserable. "Mr. Sawyer, I didn't notice. Who would have thought Zenith Corp would pull a stunt like this? I saw the contract value, and I was just so excited." Hearing the name Zenith Corp, Liam knew Cassandra had found him. He frowned and strode over. Seeing him, Carl rushed over. "Liam, you're here. Perfect. Take a look at this contract and tell me what to do." He shoved the document from Zenith Corp into Liam's hands. Liam took it and scanned the first page. He raised an eyebrow. "A $50 million order? Isn't that a good thing?" "Good thing my ass." Carl flipped furiously to a middle page and pointed at Quinn. "This idiot signed it without reading the fine print. Zenith wants all of this delivered in 1 week. I've only got 70-something employees. They're also demanding strict quality control and forbidding us from hiring more help. Tell me, what am I supposed to do now? If I can't deliver, forget 50 million. I'll owe over 100 million in penalties alone." Carl's face was red with rage. His business wasn't thriving, but it was stable. He was making a decent living. But this was going to bankrupt him. The thought made his blood boil. Liam's eyes fell on the clause. To ensure product quality, the seller's factory must maintain current operational capacity and may not hire additional personnel. His mouth twitched. He knew Cassandra would make things difficult, but he hadn't expected her to be this clever, adding specific conditions. "Mr. Sawyer, it's my fault. Please don't fire me. I have a family to feed. I'll figure something out. I swear, I'll find a way." Quinn was practically in tears, clutching at Carl's arm. Carl angrily shook him off. "With that pig brain of yours? What solution could you possibly come up with? Get lost." He turned to Liam, his face a mask of desperation. "Liam, my friend, please, you have to help me think of something. I'm at my wit's end." Liam stroked his chin, carefully reading the contract from top to bottom. After a long silence, he spoke. "A solution? Well, it's not entirely impossible." The moment the words left his mouth, Carl and Quinn looked up, their faces filled with a desperate, shining hope.